Thank goodness for Rob the Blacksmith. So, we are already live and streaming.
Okay.
I'm going to take the Master of Ceremony lead and introduce myself, and then I was going to pass it off to Jingo, but he's not here since his idea for the night was vampire. So you want me to go ahead and take the lead?
Sure, go right ahead.
Awesome. I wrote it down. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the 75th podcast of the Supreme Council of the Master Geeks Lodge. So, we are a coalition, fellowship, a fraternity, so to speak, a brotherhood of like-minded men, each leaders and teachers in our own disciplines. And we are here at your service. I'm Clay. My largest presence out there is Phoenix Made of Clay on YouTube. Let's see. Anything else to say? Rob, why don't you go ahead?
All right.
And get back to me or Jingo if he shows up.
I'm Rob the Blacksmith, and I am a cigar aficionado and a master mason and a 32nd degree in the Scottish Rite. And I'm here to try and impart what little wisdom I may have that may be of use to all those out there in the world of the Weird Wide Web.
All right. I like that attitude. Bring some light into the world.
I will say that today is a special day, and today is the anniversary of the Granite Mountain Hotshots being overrun.
Oh my goodness.
Up north of Prescott. It was on June the 30th, 2013. And those of you who have watched and listened to this podcast for time have heard me speak about the Eric Marsh Foundation. And if you're on Facebook, you'll find a lot of folks posting about the 19 hotshots that were overwhelmed during that fire. They were overrun by the fire. And my hope is that this will kind of touch a nerve with some folks and they'll be willing to help out. And on the 27th of this month, we lost 3 firefighters during a recent event. And so it really brings home the fact that these are the people that run towards danger so that others can run from it. And the wildland firefighters are volunteers. Most of them are firefighters or first responders in their municipalities. And then during the wildfire seasons, they get special dispensation from their departments to allow them to go and fill out the role for the Wildland Fire Service. So it's important that we remember the work that these folks are doing to try and keep everything safe for us to be able to go out into the wilderness. And especially now with all the changes that are happening with the federal government and the National Park Service and all of that, their job is all the more difficult this fire season. So just think about that. If you can help with the Tunnels to Towers program, if you can help with the Eric Marsh Foundation, if you can help with any of these groups, it's greatly appreciated.
You know, years ago I was camping. It was during the summertime. And we were at like North Sycamore Creek, if you know kind of where I'm talking about. I don't know if the area is open anymore, but at that time it was closed and we had special permission to be there because I was part of the Mesa Four Wheelers.
Yep.
Shout out to those guys. Great bunch of guys. If you're going to go four-wheeling, join a club. You're going to get more out of it, and you're going to mind your manners. And if you don't know what your manners are, they'll teach you. Please, join a club. So, anyways, I digress. I met some of these guys on this summer camping trip. I believe they were convicts of some sort. I don't know if it was jail, prison, or what it was, but they were on work release. And they were real quiet, unassuming guys. And, you know, they instantly got my respect because this was before what happened many years ago today. And I remember that well. I remember it well. It was a tragedy here in Arizona. I don't even know if I was here in Arizona, but I could have been in California, but I remember it well.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a real good organization. The Eric Marsh Foundation.
Eric Marsh Foundation.
All right. So this is going to go out on my YouTube page as well. So we're going to spread it around. So we are waiting on our usual master of ceremony, Hornswoggle the Great. He is on an errand of great importance. We are also waiting on Jingo to show up. He is our resident game master. And so our subject for the evening is vampires. This was Jingo's idea. I was going to pass it off to him first. So we're going to talk about vampires, and what are we going to go over? Got another phone here, so I was meaning to look up legends. So I'm going to do that while Rob is having his piece. So we're going to go over legends, novels, movies, and gaming. See, we've only discussed what I just discussed with you. This is our subject. We're going to talk about vampires. I've got a good one for gaming. It's a little out there. Warhammer 40K. I'll lead with that. And I want to talk about the Blood Angels. They are one of the different types of Space Marines. Now, these Space Marines, they are genetically enhanced supermen. They start out as men, because that's one of the things with the Imperium is, you know, you got to be a man, because if you're not a man, you are enemy. So these guys are genetically enhanced supermen. But the Blood Angels, they have a genetic aberrancy that way back somewhere there was a genetic aberrancy in creating this superhuman being that is the progenitor of the Space Marine chapter, the Blood Angels. So these guys are prone to the red thirst. It is a type of vampirism. They have an overwhelming urge for blood and raw flesh. They use this as part, hey, there's Jingo. They use this as part of their tactics as a chapter. So there's a lot of hard charging, bolter, or some sort of one-handed weapon here, another a melee weapon here, and they get stuck into combat and they take care of business. A lot of them, have jump packs, and they, launch themselves into combat and set down in and amongst the enemy. And so they have the red thirst, which is that rage created by this thirst for blood. They keep it in check until they go into combat, and then they kind of go crazy. And they also have a black rage where they just kind of go psycho and completely berserk, and they just attack anything. If they can quell that for just a little bit, they put them all together and just launch them at whatever's in the way. and they fight until they're dead. So that is about all I have to say about the Blood Angel Space Marines. Rob, you want to take off, or are we going to wait a few moments for Jingo?
I was looking at a couple of things here, and some of the earliest some of the earliest known legends go back as far as Mesopotamia and Persia, and they talk about who is it? Lamashtu and Lilitu, who were Babylonian and Assyrian demons that preyed on mothers and infants, drinking their blood and causing wasting illness. So, kind of an early legend of the vampire.
Okay, I'm all the way here now.
All right, Jingo. You know, right on. We went 40,000 years into mankind's future, into genetically enhanced supermen, into the way back. Awesome. So, Jingo, I was going to let you take the lead on this subject, but you weren't here, man. So why don't you?
Down.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Better late than never. So we already introduced the subject, and this was your subject. So why don't you intro yourself and take the lead and have at it, buddy?
All right. I am Jingo the Fool, the game master for the Ship of Fools, this Twitch channel that I'm on. I am live too right now, by the way. Let's see. Make sure I'm displaying the right thing. One moment while I fix my stream.
All right, I'm double checking that we're.
Yeah, I'm watching you guys.
Twitching.
You're looking good.
Okay, we are twitching. Good. Twitching. All right, that was a bad joke, but you know, my humor is like a freaking shotgun. Sometimes it hits you, and sometimes it doesn't.
A pun is not a pun until it's fully grown. Anyways, fishing for topics, I thought, vampires. What a wide and varied topic. There have been vampire literature, there's vampire lore, there are vampire movies, vampire comic books, vampire heroes, vampire villains. Where to start? I like what Rob was saying about, you know, some of the ancient legends that, you know, where did the lore of vampires come from? And for those in the audience, I cheat. I'm calling up Wikipedia right now so that I'll have at least a reference.
Yep. I went to the Weird Wide Web myself to familiarize myself with the earliest ones that at least can be pulled thanks to the AI. But it talks about it, millennia ago, and then through Greco-Roman, through Indian and Asian. So it's a recurrent theme around the world with basically all civilizations, and the tie that seems to bind it is the wasting illnesses, where it just drains the life from somebody. So that would be all of the things of what we now know as cancer and tuberculosis and all of these illnesses that just drain the life from someone and cause them essentially to wither away. The mind goes looking for the easiest answer, and I don't know when the first use of the word vampire came from, but these same types of creatures, the creatures that draw the energy, draw the blood, take the life from another, that idea has been around for as long as humanity has come together to form groups.
So I have a question about the original legend that you mentioned. I'm assuming that's a male and female You said demons?
The Lamashtu and Lilitir were actually Babylonian and Assyrian female demons.
They were both
And
female.
according to this, they preyed primarily upon mothers and infants, drinking their blood and causing wasting illnesses. So that would have been a very easy way to identify what was causing the death of mothers. Many mothers die in or after childbirth or after trying to keep that child alive. And as the child is not able to grow and cannot thrive, the child wastes away. So that would be in that mental condition or at that point in time, that would have been a somewhat reasonable assumption to make. Something has come and drawn the energies, killing these members of our tribe and taking away their life force. And many of the wasting diseases that we're aware of today do tend to cause hemorrhaging. So you have so many of those that we now have names
Hemorrhaging
for.
and sensitivity to sunlight as
Yes.
well. Yeah, it says that the first in any literature of blood drinking demons appeared among the Persians as depicted on excavated relics.
Yes.
And then Babylonia and Assyria had the tales of the mythical Lilitu, which is synonymous with Lilith in the Hebrew, and her daughters, the Lilu, from Hebrew demonology. And then
Yep.
Estries, female shape-shifting, blood-drinking demons, were said to roam the night among the population seeking infant victims.
Yep. And
They were created in the twilight hours before God rested.
it speaks to the Greco-Roman times. So you had the Lamia and the Empusa. The Lamia were child devourers, and the Empusa were the shape-shifting daughters of the goddess Hecate, who seduced young men to feast on their blood and flesh. So that's a recurrent theme that's been there for a very long time.
But, you know, I don't think all of these were collected under the guise of vampire. I think it first became popularized somewhere in the 19th century, where it was codified into, typically the human like drinks blood only at night kind of thing. Although in the novel Dracula himself could go out in the sunlight. He didn't like it, but it didn't harm him. So that is not necessarily a clear indication, but in almost all, they're either demons or undead. Usually demons, because I don't think the concept of the undead really came in until much later in fiction and literature.
Yep, because it talks about the Slavic folklore was where we got the Umpir or the Stagori. And that was the Middle Ages when we started to get that terminology applied to
Yeah,
that
the
similar
the,
condition.
the strigoi is a word that also in many Eastern European languages means witch. Or
Yep.
striga. In Italian, striga is witch.
I was going to say in Italian, I had heard that many times from my Italian uncles and great uncles when referencing certain women that were out and about.
interesting that in medieval times, it wasn't until the arrival of Christianity in Greece and other parts of Europe that the vampire began to take on decidedly Christian characteristics. As you know, we Western upbringing tend to think of Christianity as a Western European thing, and it so totally is not. It is a Middle Eastern religion that displaced the Gaelic people, the Germanic tribes of Western Europe, displaced them to the islands. The Gaelics that we associate with Ireland and Wales and Scotland, they didn't originate there. They were, North Central Europe and were driven there by the Roman expansion.
Yep.
So it's interesting that the medieval period started the rise of vampirism, and how interesting how Christianity, latches onto the local lore to, promote itself, I guess.
Yep.
And I guess all religions would do the same thing. If I'm not sure if there's in the Middle East if there is a Muslim allegory to that or not. And then, of course,
one of the things that sorry, go ahead,
you go ahead.
Well, so one of the things that I just looked up is that at some point, traditionally, the myths treat vampires as mindless monsters, but at some point, they became more humanistic to, I don't know, meet up with fiction, make it a more tellable tale.
Let's see. The etymology is unclear. It says that vampires, as the term, came into the English language in the late 17th, early 18th century. And there were actual panics in Eastern Europe. Interesting. And the English term was derived from the French vampire or German vampire. But it definitely comes from South Slavic languages. And I think it wasn't until, the rise of the middle class in the Renaissance and the rise of literature that we started humanizing vampires in literature. And of course, Bram Stoker's Dracula definitely put a human face on it, although at no point did he ever make Dracula sympathetic, attractive, or anything other than the horrible monster he was. That's something I think that is a modern affectation of vampire movies, is that vampires should be smooth and charming. Among other things, we look at some of the people we've had portray Dracula and other vampires in the movies,
Yep.
Usually very attractive men and women. Bela Lugosi, older man, definitely sold it. Hell, George Hamilton was Dracula. Chris Sarandon, the original vampire Jerry, or Colin Farrell did the remake of Fright Night, and Chris Sarandon had a cameo in it. I don't know if you saw.
Who was the lady in Love at First Bite?
Oh, tall,
Bill and
blonde,
I,
leggy woman. I forget.
yeah, Bill and
That
I were
was
talking about
for
it
the
today.
Jim Carrey movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Lauren something.
Lauren Hutton.
Lauren Hutton.
The
Here
gap.
we go. Here we go.
Famous
Then
for
we've got,
a gap in her teeth.
yep. Then we got Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise.
Yeah, that they kind of. If we're going to go into the Rice stuff. They kind of, steered. I don't know. If you read the book Interview with the Vampire, the book is really more about Louis than it is about Lestat.
It is.
And if you've watched the more recent Interview with the Vampire remakes, which were signed off on by Miss Rice herself before she passed away, they are more accurate. They don't follow the books, but they portray the characters more accurate to the books. They don't
I agree.
make Lestat is attractive and charming, but he is not a sympathetic character. Not at all. He is
No,
just
he's a
like
monster.
Vlad Dracula. He is the horrible monster that you know him to be.
Very narcissistic and predatory and brutal.
But
Almost chaotic.
Almost
yes,
chaotic.
He does have a set of rules, but he's willing to break them.
I think if you, I read several of the Anne Rice novels, and I think that a lot of the characters share the fallibility that all of a sudden you're immortal. You are better, stronger, faster, more powerful than you've ever been before, and this is going to last forever. And it just becomes overwhelming, and they get crushed under the weight of it. All of them do at some point. And I don't think Queen of the Damned was one of the ones I read. And I don't know how well the movie follows. But again, there's another one. Stuart Townsend played Lestat in that movie. And, I thought did a fantastic job. Really nailed the rock star Lestat,
Yep.
era of that book. But literary vampires go in a lot of different directions. There's the vampires as portrayed in RPGs, with say Dungeons and Dragons leaning more towards the Bram Stoker traditional European Dracula and monsters, and role-playing games like Vampire the Masquerade leaning way more towards the Anne Rice, play the game, pretend to be human vampires. In that, in Dracula, the main difference is in Dracula, there is one vampire, period, and those who serve him. In, say the Anne Rice novels, there are all kinds of vampires. They're everywhere. Some of them adhere to rules, some of them do not.
Yep. Anne Rice sought to humanize many of the vampires, the undead. To your point, Rob, they worked very hard to develop them actually kind of along the old classic Greek hero and tragedy tales. So some of them have this difficulty in dealing with the loss of their humanity and becoming this different creature, this completely different entity. And how do they survive how do they live that long and lose all that they have known or come to love in their life? And others shed that humanity very quickly and embrace this longevity and this newfound ability, this newfound capacity that they have. And it's a very interesting telling. It's a way of really showing the extremes of the human psyche.
Are you familiar with Charlene Harris?
Not offhand.
She wrote a series of books called The Southern Vampire Mysteries. It is the series of books that the HBO series True Blood was based on.
Okay.
And they have a slightly different take on vampires. The vampires, I don't think so much have a masquerade, but they do have a hierarchy that they're supposed to follow. But it is a very much campier and different universe. In that universe, vampire blood acts like a super drug to humans and is very addictive. And so one of the storylines in that had, the brother of the main character, who is not a vampire, gets addicted to the vampire blood so bad that at one point he goes out and captures a vampire and ties him up in his own home and is like bleeding him for food. But those vampires, unlike traditional vampire lore, with the Dracula, say, he is the vampire. Any other vampires he makes are thralls to him and will always be that. Like typical D&D fantasy, vampires follow that route in that there's one vampire that controls them all. Your rice vampires don't necessarily have that. If they're lucky, you have a guide to teach you how to become a vampire. If I remember right, Lestat's maker abandoned him, didn't he?
He did. He made him, and then he, spoiler alert, immolated himself.
Yeah, I was just saying, if you're listening
That's
by
one of the
now and you
reasons.
haven't read the Anne Rice stuff, there will be spoilers.
Yep.
But and then without knowing what he was doing, he gifted who was the other young gentleman that he gifted vampirism to that went insane, that couldn't handle it? It was before he turned Louis, wasn't it?
Yes, and
There
I
was
don't
another
recall.
young gentleman.
Yes.
And he was like, Nicholas. I have a resident
vampire expert sitting behind you.
Yes. She has personalized autographed Anne Rice books.
Nice.
In fact, when she went the second time Anne Rice came for an autograph signing, Anne remembered her from the first time.
Right on.
That's cool to be recognized by one of your heroes.
Yes, it is. I wanted to circle back around to something that Rob mentioned, and it's actually one of my favorite parts of the Anne Rice story, the Chronicles, I suppose you call them. It's this one really old vampiress. I believe her name was Cassandra. Ancient. She followed her family line down through this. I don't even think it was centuries. I think it was millennia that she followed her family line. And it had followed out to basically someone that was pretty much her genetic doppelganger that was living a normal life. And spoiler alert, she becomes a target and becomes a vampire. But she followed her family line. She kept that humanism throughout thousands of years to keep up with her family and guide them through their lives. I thought that was a really beautiful part of the story. Really cool.
That is not one of the ones that I read. I think the last one I read was the Tale of the Body Thief, and that's one wherein somebody that has a way to swap bodies talks Lestat into swapping bodies, and so Lestat is in a human body, and mayhem ensues as the other guy who is now in Lestat's body goes around doing things that he couldn't do when he was human.
Oh yeah, I've not read that one.
I am foozy on the details because I read it a long time ago.
Oh, same here.
I've read some other good vampire literature. There's this book called The Historian. And, by the title, you wouldn't think it was a vampire story. But it is a book about how the original, real Dracula, every couple hundred years, shows up and finds somebody to chronicle him. And it's about a woman in the modern day who basically starts getting given information that are clues that lead, to unravel the mystery of who Dracula was and what actually happened to him. It's a very intricate book, and I don't want to go into spoilers, but it is a very different take on the vampire novel. In that, the protagonist is this author, this historian, who is kind of being stalked by Dracula, who I don't believe until like very late in the book ever even makes an actual appearance. You just get to see the influence of the things he's doing to guide her. Another good piece of vampire literature by my favorite author, a gentleman by the name of Tim Powers, is called The Stress of Her Regard. And he has this continuity of books that has magic that is basically grounded in real world lore and history. And in his books, vampires are actual spirits of the earth that predate mankind, that kind of, as mankind rose up and evolved, the spirits kind of adopted the guise of mankind and became the creatures of mankind's folklore, the Sphinx, the genie, and things. And the most powerful among them became like vampires in that they drew drew off of humans to sustain themselves, but not in a drink blood, more drink your soul kind of essence. And the side effect of one of these spirits attaching itself to you is it became a muse to you. And so all of these authors in the 17th and 18th centuries are these prolific poets and novelists that are producing all these great works are doing so because they've got one of these creatures attached to them. And it centers around a protagonist, a fictional author who is plagued by one of these creatures. And that's why it's The Stress of Her Regard. He's a famous author because he's addicted to this woman who is slowly feeding on him to death. And it's a weird symbiotic relationship. But it is definitely another very different take on the vampire myth, because they come off very much as vampires in the story, even though that's not actually what they are, or they've been sorely misunderstood as to what they actually are.
Hey, there he is.
There he is.
I think it's very interesting thinking about it from the psychology standpoint and how these tales have grown and adapted and changed over time. And I think it's very interesting how many of the authors, I would say probably the vampire type tale authors of perhaps the last century, have kind of followed in that idea of the human that becomes immortal having a difficult time in reconciling that. And Rob, you had talked about how Dracula every so often in that one book would find somebody to chronicle him, almost like it's I need the assistance in reminding
yes,
myself.
I don't want to be forgotten. But if I ever just came out and proved my existence, the world would hunt me down and destroy me, kind of thing. And
Yeah, and that's been a recurrent theme in a lot of immortal tales that have been spun by authors in the last, like I said, in the last century or so. Uh, that was one that was really pushed for a long time with the Highlander series and things like that. And then they came out, and Anne Rice had the Talismako, which was the group that followed all of these immortals through time and chronicled their lives and their histories and things like that. And I find it very interesting how it seems like these authors are trying to understand what would I feel like if I was going to live 1,000 years, 5,000 years, getting to a point where I don't even remember when I was born as a human, the name of my people, because I've lived so long and I've done so much that so much of that history, that lifespan just falls away because you have the hardest time remembering it.
have you seen the movie Sinners? It goes the opposite direction with the vampire, in that this vampire doesn't drink blood, he doesn't drink souls, he drinks memories. He absorbs you, and if you become a vampire, everything you know, he knows now. And according to the lore of the movie, what attracts vampires is, very powerful musicians. And of course, the one of the protagonists of the show, the protagonist, is a young blues musician who, in performing, attracts this vampire to the community. And if you've not seen the movie, it is a very powerful movie.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, and so that makes a lot of sense. It's very interesting. I like the premise because it really kind of dovetails in with what I was saying. You want those memories. You need that. You need that.
Yep, and that's what he was after. The whole thing, the vampire showed up because he wanted the young man's memories. He wanted his songs. He wanted his lore. He wanted his culture, because that's what he did. Is he, assimilated.
I'll be right back, y'all.
Check, 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 check. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Oh, I was muted for some reason. All right. I am terribly sorry. Thanks, Clay, for filling in for me and getting it all set up and ready to go. I was out at the ranch. I've been laying under the panel truck for a minute. The 48 panel truck sold. It's hot and ouchy and dirty out there. Some of us, to quote the show Farscape, some of us desperately need to bathe. Ugh. Anyway.
That's why we have pressure washers.
And degreaser.
Join us on OnlyFans to watch Bill bathe.
That's
No
right.
one wants to see that. The sad
We'll pressure wash you from the end of the driveway. Okay.
The sad fact of the matter is I have an OnlyFans account because long ago, before it was a porn site, OnlyFans was actually about travel. You would go travel and post your pictures there, and not anymore. Oh, it's traveling all right, but not to the places that... Never mind.
Exploring tunnels.
That's a good way to put it. Oh. Vampires. Nosferatu.
Yes, we've kind of ripped up and down the scale on them. The etymology of where they came from a little bit. Some about some of the different movies and fiction that they've appeared in and the differences. And
From Barnabas in Dark Shadows to...
Oh, we didn't even get into
You know,
TV vampires.
TV
yet.
vampires.
Barnabas and Dark Shadows.
How many times has
Yeah.
Christopher Lee played Dracula?
Yep. Oh, Clay started us off with 40K and the vampires that exist in 40K.
Oh, yeah.
We looked at the vampire legends that came out of the Middle East, out of Mesopotamia and Babylonia and all of those areas. And then we've marched our way through to the last 150 years of lore and liturgy and things that have come about, and the changes that have occurred in
And I was
Vampire Tale.
getting ready to touch on what some of the, now we've got our modern version of vampire lore. What are some of the popular concepts that have made it through? Of course, there's the can't go out in sunlight. Well, what happens when they go out in sunlight? Some would say, oh, they are powerless in sunlight, and they are mortal in sunlight and can be destroyed. Others might say, well, they just burst into flames, or just like burn up into ash in a few seconds.
Burst
I
into
don't
flames.
know. Burst into flames. But the sunlight allergy is is one of the most common banes. Of course, a stake through the heart. Some cultures say it has to be a particular kind of wood. Others don't even say it has to be wood. You just have to pierce the heart and remove the head. Or in some Eastern European lore, remove the head, place it in the casket backwards, and stuff the mouth with holy wafers.
The ancient Greeks,
Or, as I call them, Jesus.
the ancient Greeks believed that redheads came back as vampires.
I can agree with that in some cases.
I'm thinking probably because redheads were so very rare in ancient Greece.
Absolutely. As rare as blondes.
I don't know. I think blondes are pretty prevalent among the Italians and the Greeks. Blonde is not uncommon, but
No.
your redhead is Germanic.
Pretty much. In origin. The
And then you
Teutonic people from the Netherlands, the Neanderthals.
Other lore, modern lore, you have to be invited in. Now, how far does that go? Does it only apply to a residence? And can anybody inside accept the invite?
There is a tale that goes back to the 1700s, I believe, the late 1700s. Hold on, I'm trying to remember. It's either an American or a Brit, and he's traveling. And he ends up being befriended by this Eastern European family. I forget where he is. I think it's the Crimean War, actually. So, the one thing is that the family comes and sits down and they're all eating, but then there's a knock at the door, and this older guy who looks really disheveled and messed up is at the door, and he wants in, and they let him in. Thanks, Ruckus. Thanks for knocking that over. But now that he's very satisfied with himself, aren't you? Yeah. He knocked my incense burner down. Thank God it wasn't live. Anyway, the family's freaked out, and the father's freaked out, and the American's like, what's going on here? And then after the dead guy leaves, they explain that we buried him a week ago. He shouldn't be up coming to dinner. And then the next morning, the father is dead. So it's like his father came to claim him, and they look at it as kind of like a ghoul or a vampire or one of these kind of afterlife negative scenarios. Sorry, I'm trying to remember it all. It's been decades since I saw that show. About things that go bump in the night.
Yes, some of the other modern vampire, and this is getting a little bit more obscure. They cannot cross running water. I don't know if that includes crossing a bridge over running water.
How there's a cheat for that, though. because if you read more of the vampire stories, a lot of them, especially the Middle Eastern ones, or no, the Eastern European ones, excuse me, will line their coffins with their native soil and then go out on a ship. So they're crossing water, but they're still on land.
Yes, but it's supposed to be running water, as a brook or a river or a stream.
The ocean runs, last I checked.
The ocean tides, it doesn't run, not like a river does. It doesn't flow all in one direction.
I'll give you that
all the
technicality.
time.
Fine. That's like saying the air. You know?
Yes.
Well,
I
that's
believe they can cross bodies of water because, yes, Dracula crossed the ocean. And he didn't stay in that coffin the whole time.
No.
You know, there's a whole chapter on what happened aboard the Demeter. And how, you know, it started off with a full crew. And
Slowly but surely.
When it finally hit the shore in England, there was all that was left was the dead captain lashed to the lashed to the wheel. And a big black dog that bounded off the deck and into the night.
Dog's got to eat.
It's one of my favorite chapters in the book. How they describe the ship coming in ahead of the storm and how, you know, all of it.
I have to say that if you gave me a choice and you could only pick one, vampire or werewolf, I would go with werewolf. But I want to be a werewolf like the World of Darkness, not the mindless curse of the, you know, Wolfman.
Now, are werewolves immortal?
No, they are not.
That's probably one reason I would choose werewolf over vampire, because eventually as a vampire, you're going to get bored with your existence.
Yep. The problem is that I have a Pisces moon, which makes me not only a hopeless romantic, but also a bleeding heart. So I know that although the idea of immortality absolutely fascinates and intrigues me, I don't think I'm powerful enough to watch the ones that I love the most die and wither and die over and over and over and over and over and over again for eternity.
That's why you lose your humanity, probably.
Yeah.
As a vampire, I think you'd lose your humanity within a century. Because you'd stop caring about other people. You'd start losing the things that make you human.
Yep.
Your prejudices, your likes, your dislikes.
What you
At
hate.
some point, boredom would set in and you'd start trying everything.
Yep. The problem is that it's this... Being immortal is the speech that Captain Barbossa gives to Elizabeth Swann when she first learns that they're cursed. I can't feel the ocean on my face or the spray of the sea. I feel nothing. I've been parched of thirst and dying of hunger, yet I still go on. And that's what it would be like. The idea of, oh, I'll live to see this and I'll be immortal and all the, inside, you're still a dying fruit. You're still something that was only supposed to last so long that has now lasted infinitesimally longer. And you can only stretch a rubber band so far. I'm sorry. These aren't my rules. I wish they were different. It's the very same concept of humans can't handle time travel that Doc says to Marty in the very first movie. It takes a very special individual to understand that whole concept.
The human mind can't accept
infinity.
Something that, the human mind cannot accept something that cannot be quantified. We have to have a quantification for everything. There has to be a limit. There's a start and an end. That's why we gave the term infinity a name. it's a concept,
Yeah.
but because we gave it a definite name, it now has a definite beginning and end, even though the true concept has no beginning and end. But we had to give it a name. We had to give it some kind of an identity that we could point to,
And
because
say,
the human mind cannot handle that.
no. I agree. We are so set to classification that things that exist outside the box absolutely terrify us. My steampunk and stuff ready to go. So that's why werewolf over vampire. Because if you break down the supernatural critters that are iconic in our, mummy, when you're in the same, you're just an immortal zombie. You're just something that's decaying
Keep
and
her
falling.
alone.
Huh?
No.
Oh, cats.
I'm sorry.
No, I thought you were jumping in. Whoa. Seriously, mummies are zombies that are falling apart.
Cats fall into that same idea. Cats are immortal. We all know it. I don't care what they tell you.
Yeah, cats are immortal. They just jump into different bodies. Unfortunately, cats are not immortal.
Let
But
me tell you a story about that time I almost died. You ever see the movie Fallen?
Fallen. Is that
Denzel Washington,
Yeah, with
John Goodman.
the
Oh
devil.
my God, yes. Yes. Let me tell you about the time I almost died.
because I have to watch Near Dark again? It's been so long, I barely remember it.
Bill Paxton at his best. Bill Paxton.
Here's the thing with Near Dark. One of the things they always say is, Bill Paxton and Lance Hendrickson are the only two guys that have been killed by a Terminator and aliens. And it's true. And wasn't Bill Paxton in Predator 2? Isn't he the
and a
reporter?
Predator. So he's been killed by a Predator, an alien, and a Terminator, yes.
Killed by all three.
I think Lance Hendrickson has that distinction as well.
The sad part is, and I was thinking about this on the way back from the ranch, because we were talking about, Clay, we all talked about what you guys picked the topic. I was at work. But Bill Paxton and Lance Hendrickson, two iconic fucking actors from the 80s. If you're not familiar with them, they've both been in a ton of movies. But they get the distinct joy of being in Near Dark together, and they're in Aliens together, interacting with one another. But the Terminator, Bill Paxton plays a punk who has 3 lines? Wash day
he's
tomorrow.
the guy who gives up his leather jacket
Yeah.
to the Terminator.
Your clothes, give them to me. This guy's a couple cans short of a 6-pack. I think Paxton has that line too. And Arnie kills them, like all three of them. But they don't interact with Lance Hendrickson and Paul Winfried, who's another iconic actor that Arnold kills both of them in the police station raid. If you haven't seen the original Terminator, why have you not seen here? That's the question. You don't have to see the rest of them, just see the first one. It's brilliant. So
Commando movie making at its best.
it really is. It's just so Michael Biehn, Linda Hamilton, Arnie, Lance Hendrickson, Bill Paxton, Paul Winfield, it's just stellar. But it's in Near Dark and it's in Aliens that you get to see true talent, where Lance Hendrickson and Bill Paxton play off each other and they work together, because apparently the knife thing was ad-libbed. They weren't planning on doing it the way that it ended up happening. And Bill Paxton just kind of went with it. Oh, hey, man, what are you doing? Because that's the kind of actor he was. He always supported the scene. Because Michael Biehn... Oh, go ahead.
He was very good at improvisation and just riffing. And I'm sure that a lot of the scenes and a lot of the movies that he's been in were exactly that. Him saying something that wasn't quite script, and the director going, we're keeping that.
Yeah. Because if you watch Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, and he had Michael Biehn on, and he was like, what was Bill Paxton really like? Because they were buddies. They hung out for years, forever, since Terminator. And I think before then, actually, if I remember correctly. Venus, hold on. I gotta get cat treats in a second. So what Michael Biehn said was, Michael Biehn says, if you took Hudson from Aliens, but eliminated all the cowardly parts of that personality, that's who he was like hanging out with. He was fun. He just loved to have a good time. He never excluded he wanted everybody to just, enjoy the party and have a good time. And that's what you want a star to be like. You want them to be like that, or be like Robin Williams, or you want to have those, oh my God, I met him. He was the greatest guy ever, because those are the best stories. I mean, yeah, the other opposite stories are interesting to listen to, but oh, thanks, Clay, for giving them treats. But that's, really the interaction is the humanization of, you don't want to be remembered the way Brian Johnson, second lead singer of AC/DC, remembers Chuck Berry. Have you heard what he said about Chuck? She said that Chuck Berry was the biggest piece of shit he ever met in his life.
Wow.
Whoa.
I wonder what. Did he elaborate?
Yes. He said, because the interviewer was like, what makes you say that? He's like, he's just a terrible person. He says, I met him one time, and I said, oh, I'd love to have your autograph. And he looked at me, and he smirked, and he said that he only gives out one autograph a day, and he's already given out that autograph for the day. And then the interviewer said, Brian, is that why you give out so many autographs? Because you don't want to be anything like him? And he's like, he's the biggest piece of shit I ever met in my life. He was just an awful person to him. It's like, dude, I mean, I can understand being replaced, but if you're Chuck Berry, AC/DC is the next evolution of what you created. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, that's sad that had to. I heard a story one time of Chris Isaak had a venue. He showed up to play at a venue, and they hadn't finalized who was going to open for him. And he gets there, and he finds out Chuck Berry's opening for him. He's like, "What? No, Chuck Berry doesn't open for people.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going on first."
That's it. Really?
And so, Chris Isaak, refused. I'm not going on after Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
I'm opening for Chuck Berry tonight.
Spinal Tap opens for Puppet Show. That's what that sounds like. I mean, not Chris Isaak is talented.
Yeah, but from what I understand, in his later years, Chuck Berry wasn't his performances had tapered off, and he kept doing it far past the point where he should have quit. And like I said, I don't know enough about Chuck Berry as a person to know whether or not he was truly a good person or it wouldn't surprise me to find that out, that he's,
There's lots of stories on both sides, so you kind of gotta take everything you hear with a grain of salt, even what you hear on the council. I'm not perfect. Say that right now.
Yeah, I will wholeheartedly say that there is nothing that comes out of my mouth that I will swear is fact. It's hearsay at best.
I solemnly
what Wikipedia told me.
I solemnly swear I'm up to no good. There we go. That's about as apropos as you're gonna get.
My alter ego is not quite Harcourt Fenton Mudd.
My evil twin, he lives beneath my skin. He does a lot that I don't approve of. Just to let you know. That's all I know about that. I'm not saying no more.
Anyways, back to vampires.
Vampires, yes.
What are some of your favorite vampires besides Dracula in popular history, literature, or media?
Pop culture, sci-fi, Buck Rogers' 1980 space vampire that goes after Wilma Deering. At the time I was a kid, scared the hell out of me. Now at 54, I look back at it.
Yeah, the Buck Rogers TV show was my ride or die, but
he was literally like that.
But yes, that is a show that didn't age well. It is very 70s.
Hold on. Clay and I had a whole Buck Rogers discussion last night. We were totally talking about it. We were talking about bringing it up tonight, and then you guys picked vampires, so we went with that.
Well,
but since there's a vampire on the show, it can cross Mr. Wiggles.
We segue into all different kinds of things.
Yeah.
There's no reason we can't completely drift off topic.
Did you guys feel him hit the ground when he laid down? Norwegian forest.
That's what that was.
Yeah, that was Mr. Wiggles. He's mighty. Look at him.
Yeah, Norwegian forest cat mix. I thought he was a Maine Coon.
No,
because he's big.
I had a Norwegian forest cat. Their temperaments are entirely different than a Maine Coon, and they're big and they're very docile. And mine was very cowardly.
He's so blushy. To quote,
yes,
King Julian.
Mine loved for you to rub his belly with your feet. In fact, he would lay under my desk with his belly there, so I could just sit at my desk with my feet on his belly. He was a fuzzy footrest, and he loved it.
You became very clever with
cat. I'd have to get a Maine Coon or a Norwegian or a lynx or a panther, because it has to be able to stand toe to toe with Fenner.
There is that. I see you having like what Clay has, one big 22-pounder and one little 7-pounder who thinks he's 22 pounds, and just Ruckus takes on everyone.
Our last cat flag, he was like 3 cats.
He was like, that's not necessarily good.
It was never good.
That's what I had with Hubert. He was the little pure white, absolutely pure white.
Oh.
And Gretchen raised him. So he was the one that was absolutely convinced that he was a pit bull. And when I got Fenner literally fit in the palm of my hand. And Hubert was all over him for the first 6 months as he was growing and growing and growing. And the two would chase each other around the house and everything else. They were the fastest friends. They were the best buddies. And Gretchen was the mama, so she raised them both to be pit bulls. 120-pounder and 8-pounder.
Both pit bulls. That's so sweet.
So yeah, that was me a few minutes ago dealing with little Ruckus there. Hashtag little Ruckus.
Hashtag little Ruckus.
He's a little monster.
He's a menace.
He's an apex predator. He is an evil genius. I really don't, I'm so proud of him. But he needs to know what no means.
Yeah.
So which one
he
of them
knows what no means? He just doesn't care.
Oh yeah, he does know. He just doesn't.
He just doesn't give a shit.
He knows what "Give me 5" means too. He just doesn't like it.
What were you gonna say, Rob?
Which one of the minions is he?
Oh, he's the smallest and newest minion. He's like almost 2. Yeah, he's like 1.5 now, and Wiggles is 2.5. But so they kind of have that older brother worship of Steel, and Steel really just kind of he's asleep right over here in a box lid. And what was it, last week? It's like 2-3 in the morning, and they're coming in for treats. And Steel comes in, and Ruckus is like, hey, and Steel just kind of ignores him and walks over. And Ruckus, like, runs up to him, grabs him, picks him up, and slams him down. And Steel's like, what the hell? Because the size difference. Steel is much larger than Ruckus. And then after that, Steel was like, oh, fuck no, buddy, and put him in his place. But like Clay was saying, think about who Ruckus fights with all day. And it's true. He takes on Wiggles like it's nothing. He takes on a cat.
Dogs and cats, size doesn't matter.
And he wrestles
we had a Beagle Basenji mix. The size of a large. She was about the size of a large cat. We'd go to the lakes on the weekend, and we'd have our little section of beach on the lake. And other dogs, big dogs, would come around, and she was having none of it. And,
yeah,
I've seen her, like, chase off, Mastiffs and St. Bernards just by standing there and going,
it's the yeah.
And the other dogs are like, nope, nope.
I don't want to
Size
find
doesn't
out.
matter
if
to
it- yeah,
dogs.
I don't want to find out
Size
if I
doesn't matter to dogs.
I don't want to find out if I can take you. It's
Attitude
yeah.
is everything.
It's painful. Attitude is painful.
Call that the Weehawk moment.
Yeah, Weehawk is out of his mind. I love Wizards. Great movie.
I saw a friend of mine do this once. We were moving him into a house, and across the street was a side fence of another house, and there was a dog behind it. That just the whole time we were moving in, the dog's like rawr, 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 hours as we're unloading this truck. And finally, this guy, Joe, who's like 6'3", 350 pounds, goes over and leans down to the hole in the fence where that dog is and starts going, "Arr!" And the dog's barking and growling at him, and he growls louder, "Arr!" And after about the fourth time he gets louder, the dog shuts up. And he goes, "Arr!" one more time, and the dog didn't make another sound the rest of the afternoon.
That is too funny. See, I hate you, I love you next door with one of my neighbor's dogs. Between a wall or behind a door, she hates me. And then she comes around, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, how's it going?
It's just like there's a video that I saw on Facebook. I'm sure it's up on YouTube. It's got these two dogs, and they're on both sides of this gate just going, then they open the gate, and they're all happy.
Oh, hey.
And then the gate shuts, and they're like,
It's Sam and Ralph from the old. Morning, Sam. Morning, Ralph. Then they clock in and they get ready to work, and then they're just like destroying one another. Have a good night, Ralph. Have a good night, Sam.
So your favorite vampire is the one from Buck Rogers.
Oh, that's my favorite vampire, but that's not the coolest vampire.
No. Martian Cat says the Michelsons from the TV show The Originals are her favorite vampires.
Ooh.
And that show is a spin-off of the Vampire Diaries, which is
Okay.
some fiction that I haven't read, but it has its own vampire lore as well.
So Christine read all the True Blood books, and then we watched the show, and then I took great delight in, did that happen in the book? Did that happen in the book? Did that happen in the book? Every 5 minutes.
Yes, we did. We watched all the episodes of the show as well and read all the books. In addition, me and Martian Cat were doing forum roleplay in that universe.
That's awesome.
She was a vampire, I was a demon. And yes.
Still the vampires from Supernatural. Well, the problem is there's too many, cool vampires to pick, a favorite one. But I would have to say, if you said, who's the coolest vampire you've ever seen in a movie? Gary Oldman, Dracula, 1992. Hands down.
That one is right up there.
I have crossed oceans of time to be with you. I understand that, dude. I understand that. Go ahead.
My absolute favorite vampire will always be George Hamilton. Love it.
With you
Mostly
never
because
longy.
lines like, what was that maniac drinking? It tasted like the Volga River at low tide. And children of the night, shut up!
I love that line.
Scariest vampire I ever saw was the original Salem's Lot vampire.
Ooh,
Because I watched that movie. I was a little kid. I was visiting.
That'll scare the shit
my
out of you.
grandmother and cousins in San Francisco, and I watched that movie with my cousins. Went to bed, had a nightmare. Woke up screaming. My father comes in to check on me, and he's trying to calm me down. And my grandmother, who was all of 5'0", and she was a little old Southern Italian Calabrian witch. She was a strega. And she had no hair. All
It's
of her
having
hair,
Ronnie James Dio's
the little
mother.
wisps of hair. And she comes into the doorway of the bedroom with the light from the hallway illuminating from the back. So all I see is this little tiny bald-headed, and she's screaming and hollering and just cutting loose with the expletives like only a mean old Italian grandmother could do.
A woman who's had
And
enough.
my father had gotten me calmed down. She comes in there, and I went through the roof ballistic again. My father almost fell off the bed. He was laughing so
I was
hard.
gonna say.
Because he looked at her and he understood what caused me. And he finally got up and he asked my mother to calm me down. And he walked my grandmother out and explained to her, "You look like the fucking vampire from the movie. Please go put your hair on." So it was. I had not ingratiated myself to my grandmother that weekend.
I would say that vampires are more cemented in our culture because whether you have parents that are into vampires or not, if you watch Sesame Street, you're introduced to vampires. And
Yes,
that for,
he is the coolest vampire.
for many of us, that's your first vampire. Not for all of us, for some. For me, vampire and werewolf and things like that, that was an education every Sunday when my first 6 years of my life, my father would walk my older sister and I to a 7-Eleven, and I would get one of the plastic Slurpee cups. And back then, in the mid-'70s, they either had Marvel superheroes on them or
Universal monsters.
all of them. Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Mummy, Werewolf. They deteriorated. They were 50 years old. But I used to have all of those cups. I saved them because I'm a maniac. And that was my introduction. The problem is that I love horror, but all of my dreams are nightmares. They're all horror movies written, directed, and starring me. So this was terrible when I was young. But as I got older, you just wake up startled and then you get over it. So what else? Oh, Count Chocula. That's your second vampire as a kid. Whether, Boo Berry, Frankenberry, or Count Chocula. Now they have a new one. They have like a gremlin. I tasted it.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's not.
They had Boo Berry and Frankenberry and Count
The ones
Chocula.
we got were the Universal monsters from original Aurora kits, and then the Polar Lights when they were reissued. Building those.
Yeah. You also had the Drac Pack, which was, I believe, a Hanna-Barbera cartoon where they kind of homogenized the monsters into these teenage rebels and focused more on like Dracula and gothic hot rods, which all of us that are secret goths and public goths are like, fuck yeah. But everyone else, it's like, why would Dracula need a car?
On the monsters, because we got to see the monsters in syndication.
The monsters you're introduced
Grandpa.
to two vampires.
Yeah.
Well, it was implied that Grandpa was actually Dracula himself.
Yep.
Many times on the show.
That he's in hiding in America. Now, Father, now, Dad, she would tell him and then warn him that if he gets discovered, the people will show up.
Would that make Lily Munster a vampire as well?
That's why it makes no sense that Frankenstein's
kid
monster is a werewolf. And
Yes.
the best is Marilyn, that they treat her like she's hideous, but she's this drop-dead bombshell. Poor Marilyn. She just can't attract the boys. That's the beauty of the Addams Family, because you shouldn't compare the Addams Family and the Munsters. That's apples to oranges. It doesn't even make any sense.
So you have, in movie vampires, you have Blade, as Martian Cat mentioned, and Kate Beckinsale's character in Underworld.
Okay, hold on. If we're going to talk about the Underworld series, I would have to say that my all-time favorite vampire movie is Rise of the Lycans.
I have not seen any of the Underworld movies.
I highly recommend you. The first one is fucking amazing. The second one, it's okay. The third one is Rise of the Lycans. It's werewolves versus vampires for an hour and a half. It's awesome. And what's his name is Lucian. Good Omens. Aziriel, the good angel. What's his name?
David Tennant?
No, the other guy.
I
Yeah.
see his face. I don't know his name.
Sorry, I've been out in the sun. I'm so dehydrated. Laying in a solar panel truck. Sorry, I didn't want to, but I had to. Anyway, he is a main player in the first movie, and then you get like his backstory in the third movie, and he causes all of the werewolves are slaves basically to the vampires, and he has them rise up and revolt basically, and because they're hunting them in the first movie, and it's kind of fuzzy why. The first movie is kind of set up like Blade, which is also kind of set up like Vampire the Masquerade. Only you don't have a Sabbat, you have like werewolves or yeah.
It was Michael Sheen.
Michael Sheen. Thank you.
I had to look it up.
And
he looked nothing like he did in the Vampire.
Oh,
in the werewolf.
No, he's got long hair and a goatee, and he looks like a biker, not an angel, not a preppy bureaucrat angel. Yeah. I got a license. That doesn't exist. Oh, I made them give me one. Oh my god. We gotta go. This guy's a nerd. We're gonna have to listen to rules constantly. I hate that. But Michael, they're very good movies. The problem is, it's like The Crow, where the first one is fucking amazing. It's the best one of the series. The second, great cinematography, great sets, one of the greatest soundtracks and movie scores ever. What the fuck happened with the story and the casting?
Yeah.
You just tried to regurgitate number one. You don't read the comics. Each story is different. Each story is a different person's suffering and redemption and peace at the end.
So the whole thing should be a different Crow every time.
Every time.
Yes.
The third one is brilliant. It's more like the first one. He gets his ass kicked all the time. You're rooting for him, but he's not a fighter. He has to learn how to fight through the movie. And the fact that he's immortal really helps. But he still has to endure all that pain. And then the fourth one, David Boreanaz, for some reason, Danny Trejo's playing a Navajo detective cop. Dennis Hopper, Tara Reid, and they picked, what's his name? Eddie Furlong, to be the Crow, the kid from Terminator 2, when John Connor is, what is he, 12 in that movie?
Yeah.
And he's the Crow. He spends most of the movie looking like fat cousin of Robert Smith. You expect him any moment to go, Friday, I'm in love, because what? Who did the makeup in this movie? Jesus Christ. The movie is terrible, and it just gets worse. And not even Dennis Hopper could save it. I don't turn off many bad movies, because I love a bad movie. But if you're going to just...
Well, Dennis Hopper is kind of like, what's Eric Roberts.
But he's good.
He never met a role. He's like, does this role pay money? Yes, I'm in.
Yeah, because so that's what's
Donald
going
Pleasance is the same way.
Yeah, that's what's going on with the Crows, and the Blade movies are kind of like that, where the first one is amazing, the second one could have been better, and it feels rushed, but you still get all the fun. It's a lot like the first one. There's a bit more intrigue in it, but there's part of it where you're like, dude, you've got super vampire senses. You didn't know all along that this guy, that what's his name from the Boondock Saints was out to get you? The guy from Walking Dead, Daryl, that everybody loves. He's great in Walking Dead. He's a fucking asshole when Blade 2, because you're rooting for him half the movie, and then the other half of the movie you're like, hey, you're like Joey Pants in Matrix. You asshole. You sold out all your friends. So, yeah. I'm trying to. I had another vampire on the tip of my tongue that nobody ever talks about. Go. Not the one, but also just popped in the mind. Cassidy from The Preacher. He's an iconic vampire that a lot of people don't talk about. Unless you've seen the show or read the comic, you don't know how much of a sarcastic, like, side sage character he is. And this isn't a rich guy. This is a drifter who spends most of the comic in the back of a truck underneath several tarps and blankets, hiding from the sun.
You do what you got to do.
They made the Masquerade, Vampire the Masquerade show, like a whole season.
Yeah, I heard. I've watched it. We have the VHS.
I had the DVD. I got so much White Wolf stuff that I had amassed almost everything. 2 18-gallon tubs worth, and that was in it. And I ended up... Chris is now the proud owner of those 2 tubs, and he can have it. Because White Wolf is a very awesome world, but it's a storytelling RPG. You have to stretch it to make it a hack and slash RPG. And if your role players are hack and slash dungeon crawlers, nothing wrong with that. I am one of those guys. They're not going to dig on...
Yeah, you have to get people to buy. You have to, different role playing games, you have to get people to buy into the Vampire the Masquerade. I don't think I could do it justice if I ran a vampire game, because I am too D&D oriented.
Yeah, you'd be a better
I can
player.
spin a fantasy tale. It's why, I struggle with other genres, like westerns and superheroes and things like that. I don't do as well because it's just not the way the storytelling part of my brain is structured.
The other aspect too is that you can do tabletop or LARP, and you can even do both, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is, if you're LARPing it, it's either a party with rules or it's dinner theater. Nothing wrong with those 2 things, but that's what it devolves into, because it kind of has to. Because it becomes a whodunit, because you're all playing your characters, and, well, you have to have some kind of mystery, besides sitting around and going, 2 years ago, I raided a werewolf. Well, they were bone gnawers, Steve. It doesn't matter what clan they were. Bone gnawers are homeless people. He raided a lot in back of a, Walmart. It's not important where it was. So it's just kind of standing around talking about your characters. If you're playing it on tabletop, it's sitting around rolling dice talking about your characters. If you actually try to hack and slash it, there's too much bureaucracy in vampire. There's too much hiding in werewolf. There's too much pretending and hiding in mage and changeling. And there's...
The game's
so much death. There's so much
They're
death.
They're not structured to combat. And that if you get into combat, somebody's going to die fast, and it might be you.
Yeah.
And, old school D&D and other games were like that, where, oh, look, orcs over the hill. Do we want to attack them? I don't know. How many are there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
now, with modern, RPGs, are there orcs over the hill? Yeah, I attack. Well...
Don't you want to talk to him first?
I've had... I think... never mind. I don't want to go down that because that's taking us too far off topic.
No, vampires are in role-playing games. We're talking about a vampire role-playing game right now. The difference is that the scale is unbalanced across the board for all of the games, and that's on purpose to make it more exciting, but to also give the, dare I say it, because it's one of my favorite words, dichotomy of the game. Your very young vampire is gonna fucking get slaughtered by even very young werewolves. But a very old vampire, even old werewolves don't stand a chance. They're just too powerful. They are too fast, too strong, too much soaking damage, too much invisible, too much whatever, strength, crack skulls with a punch. And then you get to the weird, so it's highly... it's why it's interesting to see the underworld movies, because they're a bit more balanced with the vampire werewolf fight. The problem is in the second movie, do you mind if I spoil the movie for all the fans and for
go
you?
right ahead.
We said you never saw them. They focus on the fact that one of the main characters becomes an antagonist because he's a hybrid and he's both a vampire and a werewolf. And it's just like, oh, holy Scooby-Doo, Batman. No, we've done this before. They literally did it on Scooby-Doo.
In the Charlene Harris stuff, the Southern Vampire Mysteries, yeah, werewolves existed, and they had their own hierarchy, but there wasn't, I believe, open conflict between. Well,
Yeah.
I think at one part in the storyline, something caused open conflict, but they weren't typically. The werewolves stayed to themselves and didn't involve themselves in, fanger affairs.
But then there's the comical take on it. Now, I am not a great watcher of the show because I don't have access to it. I have seen clips of it. We talked about it. What We Do in the Shadows was actually a movie long before it was a show. And it was a Taika Waititi, which that's really the only movie of his. I haven't seen Thor, Love and Thunder, or the Jojo Rabbit movie. I heard one was bad, one was good. So What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, they even have the werewolf vampire conflict. But eventually it gets worked out, and it's other supernatural characters that the main characters have a beef with, and one of them ends up getting in the fight at the very end. But there's a hilarious part because the vampires are kind of like moron rock stars, the way they act in the show and the way they act in the movie. And the werewolves kind of function as like an Australian rugby team. And they have an interaction and they start giving each other crap. And the werewolves start yelling at the vampires, and the alpha werewolf's like, hey, we've talked about this. We don't use that kind of language. We're werewolves, not swearwolves. And that fucking it's a stupid joke. It's like Elf when he gets hit by the taxi. It makes me laugh every time. Or when he's spinning around in the turnstile to get in the building. Try it, it's fun! And then he throws up. I'm easily amused. Sorry. So, yeah. Other than that, what else is another good one? Buck Rogers. There's a lot of vampires in all of culture. Mum Ra's a mummy. He's not really a vampire. But I'm trying to think of other vampires besides Dracula and Morbius that are in Marvel and DC. Besides Blade.
Those are the two main ones. At one point, Doctor Strange, and I don't know if this happened in the comic books in the 70s or the 80s, cast a spell that basically unmade vampires. And so vampires just ceased to exist. Dracula, all of them. I don't know how or when that was reversed. I am not an expert on it, but I know that at one point, Doctor Strange destroyed all the vampires in the Marvel Universe.
Now, I haven't read any Poppy Z. Bright, and I know she writes a lot of vampire lore long before Twilight and long before Anne Rice and Interview with the Vampire. And Christine told me a couple stories. Most of them are kind of R or X rated.
That's okay. I have my stream tagged as adult.
Oh, well, mine is too. One is about 3 vampires, and one... They crave men. One eats the flesh, one eats the blood, and one eats the semen. So they lure men and take turns, basically. And it's like, I don't remember how long the short story was or how it ended. But I remember her laughing about that concept. So, that's another good vampire in culture.
There was
Supernatural has
the
a couple.
movie. Supernatural had vampires. They had one vampire was a recurring character, and he was actually an ally of the player of the Winchesters. At one point, Dean goes to limbo, And while he's in limbo, it's a place where, you're constantly fighting. The violence never ends. And while it's where vampires go when they die. And so he made friends with this guy named Benny. And Benny was the one who helped get him out of limbo. They orchestrated the escape, and he got Benny out of limbo. And of course, Dean Winchester, the monster slayer,
Helping
is all of a sudden has a vampire as a friend.
Not that uncommon. I watched to season 9. I probably got to start it again, but now I no longer have access to Netflix. But
I believe it's on Amazon. It's not on Netflix anymore.
They make friends with the Changeling, and at one point he's running around as dressed up like Bela Lugosi. And then even later they have a baby Changeling, and they end up giving the baby to him because they find out that he's a monster, but he's not killing anybody, and he's just really lonely, and he's using his powers more to entertain people than to kill them and eat them. So they don't kill him. I can't remember what his name is.
I remember who you're talking about because we're on the last season now.
He's in like a drive-in theater or a very old movie theater. And that's like, he's kind of like a Phantom of the Opera type of character. Where he
because they pegged him as the monster at one point, and it turns out there was a different monster. But
yes.
He wasn't him.
It wasn't him that was doing it. He was just happened to be living in the same vicinity as the other, way more. Oh, yeah, I got to watch the whole show again. It was a very good show, filled with great actors, great actresses. I enjoyed. I even loved it when they come into our world. I mean, your name is Jensen. Jensen? My name is Jensen? What's Jensen?
I saw that.
And apparently you're Polish.
I am. Or the best is like they're getting along. You know what? Don't. It's fine. They went from not talking to each other to hanging out constantly. Just let it go. Oh my God, it's Ruby, and they don't see her as the actress because they're not from that world.
Yes, that was one of the Trickster episodes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really funny.
Before you found out the Trickster was actually the Archangel Gabriel.
Yeah, because the best is they have to act like themselves, but they're not actors, so they have to act like they can't act, and that is some of the funniest.
I think my favorite episode of Supernatural was where they go to the Supernatural convention.
Oh my God! Okay, yeah, that also was hilarious.
And yeah, everybody is like, they do know we're brothers, right?
I also enjoy the one where they get trapped in the hotel where all the old gods have a meeting every year and they have no idea that it's happening. And then, like, Odin's like, when everything ends, I get eaten by a giant wolf. And Dean and Sam are like, okay, great. That sounds like fun, Odin. Do you remember that
I'll be right back, fellas.
Oh, absolutely. What's another? I'm trying to think of other shows with vampires. And God, there's so many. Yeah, Buck Rogers. I don't think there's any vampires in Battlestar Galactica. There's those weird insects that capture Cassiopeia. And Starbuck and Apollo have to save her just in time.
Other TV shows with vampires. I
know Farscape has something like that. And then there's that one, like, clown guy that's really like a vampire who sucks energy on that one planet they go to. Life Force. The movie Life Force.
That was I went and saw that in the theater.
It was I've seen parts of it. I've never seen the whole thing.
It didn't portray itself as a vampire movie initially.
No.
But
then they downplayed it like they did Alien. And then the American public never learns. This is a horror movie. It's a horror movie. Yay! It's not 1958 anymore. This is going to be a real horror movie. Not, oh no, there's something in the bushes, Doris.
Yeah, like I remember we went and saw in the theater the Zack Snyder version of Dawn of the Dead. And there's a movie that jumps right in your face right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it just, it starts out mellow and then it gets crazy and it gets crazier and it gets crazier and it gets crazier. And
there are subtle levels of horror movies. There is The Exorcist, The Prince of Darkness, Event Horizon, the Descent, the movies that are straight up terrifying. Alien. Then there are slasher films. Michael, Freddy, Leatherface.
there have been a couple of vampire slasher films.
I'm sorry, Michael, Jason, Freddy, I meant to say. I put Freddy in that group, but Freddy is actually in the thrillamedy category. Because he is a horror. He is killing people. It is horrific.
Well, he didn't.
But it's
It wasn't
dark humor.
until the second and the third movie that he really started getting into the snarky one-liners and the comedy. The first Nightmare on Elm Street was terrifying.
It is. It was. But it's still campy when you look at it
Well,
now.
now
because
that you
it's
go
not
back and look at it,
1986
yeah,
anymore.
it didn't age well. But
No,
at
but
the age we were when we saw it the first time, it was like, oh my god,
we
Freddy
love Freddy.
Krueger is terrifying.
Yeah, it was. We love Freddy. He devolves. You're right. He devolves into a thrillamedy like Gremlins,
Well,
like
Jason kind of did too.
Arachnophobia. Jason
Yeah,
doesn't because it's not like he pantomimes or he's just always kind of the straight. It's the same thing as there's a tragic comedy in Jason and Leatherface because they never change. Everything around them changes. Where Freddy keeps evolving. His comedy adapts to the children and the next kids and we'll never run out of kids that live on Elm Street.
I guess no, there hasn't been a classic slasher film with a vampire protagonist, but there have been some brutal vampire movies that, like 30 Days of Night.
30 Days of Night is brutal based on the comic book. I've never read the comic. I love the movie. God, there's no God. Also, Fright Night. I have not seen the remake with David Tennant, but dude, the original was amazing.
The original was awesome.
Roddy McDowell, Christopher
We went and
Sarandon.
saw the we went and saw the remake in 3D, and I have to say that although the movie was good, it had one of the best uses of 3D effects that I've seen in a movie. In that they didn't do the throwing things in your face. It was
Shoot
more
an
like
arrow.
at one point, they try to smuggle this girl out of the vampire's basement. And as soon as she hits sunlight, she bursts apart into sparks. And when you're wearing the 3D glasses, you can see the sparks swirling around the theater
Oh, wow. And oh, wow.
in 3D. Yeah, that was like, whoa.
And
just, it was, the 3D effects were always subtle. They were there,
Yeah.
but they weren't in your face. They were just enough to make you go, wow,
Yeah.
that's wild.
Because Near Dark and Lost Boys is a completely different vampire movie. Nosferatu is kind of in the middle of the road. Now, I have not seen the remake, and I don't even remember the 33 Max Shrek.
It still basically follows the Dracula story.
Pretty
I
much.
told you the story of how we got the original
Yes.
copies of the movie, that it was, the estate of Stoker sued, had all the copies destroyed, but the ones that had been exported to the United States escaped that.
Yep.
And that's why we still have copies of it, because it was a blatant
Rip-off of... everything is a rip-off of everything else.
But no, it almost identically followed the story of Dracula.
And then...
But
I mean, Dracula... Bela Lugosi gives Dracula what will later be the Gary Oldman treatment, where he's looked as refined. This is not just a creature of the night. He's also classy and supercilious and elegant and has, proper etiquette. For a,
Whereas Christopher Lee played off of that and was also menacing.
and then there
He
was,
was a terrifying
oh
Dracula.
yeah, especially with those red contacts. And then there was Blackula. You heard it here first. Right up there with Christopher Lee. And Dark Shadows. What's another? I know there was a show in the 80s that didn't last long that had a vampire in it. I can't remember. But then it isn't until Near Dark and Lost Boys that vampires are repackaged as like gritty punks. They're the Bruja,
Well,
basically.
the Lost Boys, follows the traditional vampire pattern in that there is a lead vampire, and all of the other vampires are just thralls to him. They answer to his whim. They might appear to have freedom, but ultimately they don't.
And Lost Boys is gonna be iconic forever. Yes, it's dated. Yes, it happened in the 80s. Yes, the hair and the music and the saxophone player guy that all the women love. But it's so many different genres. Because it's Vampire Karate Kid. Two new kids move into an area. They don't know anybody. The older brother starts hanging out with the... But you're shown subtle hints of the full story all along the entire movie. You're giving foreshadowing crumbs all through the film that you're not even picking up. For one, most grandfathers are not that into taxidermy. There's something up with that old guy. He's too weird to be just a weird old grandfather. And you find out later, well, obviously, he's the vampire hunter in the area. Well, of course he is. No wonder the vampire kids wanted to get him. And who does the youngest grandson gravitate to? The other two weirdos in the Frog Brothers. What are they? Wannabe vampire hunters who actually do a decent job for their age and abilities. Who knew?
Yeah, that was a fun movie.
Yes, it was. It was so much fun.
Near Dark was on the other end of that, though.
Near Dark's
it was
dark.
Yeah, it was
vampires.
Vampires that are basically out of control, that are constantly on the move.
Every Sabat character created as somebody seen that movie, and I'm going to make Lance Hendrickson. I'm going to make Bill Paxton. I'm going to make Janine. Can't remember her last name. Vasquez.
Dracula?
No.
Vasquez.
She was Vasquez in Aliens. And in
yes.
Terminator 2, she plays the stepmom. Because the dog... Where are you, where are you, honey? And then you see her, she's got her blade through the guy's head. You should come home. What's your dog's name? Max. Mom, why is Wolfie not barking? Wolfie's fine, honey. Your step-parents are dead. I love that scene. Sorry, I fucked it up. Your foster parents are dead. And he's just like, what? I mean, I hate them, but Jesus Christ. Janine, God damn it. Hold on. Now I gotta know. She's a brilliant actress.
And I know she's not actually a Latina, is she?
No, I think she's Jewish,
think she
actually.
is. Yeah.
A lot of amazing actors are Jews. I didn't mean anything by that. The Marx Brothers are my favorite actors. All 4 or 5 of them are Jews. Plays Vasquez. Damn it, what's her name? I can never remember her name. Jeanette Goldstein. I was close. Because I can't remember her name in Near Dark. But
Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man? No, have you?
I don't, have you? She nailed the feisty little Latina. We know them. Diamondback is her name in Near Dark. Yeah, it's Near Dark is A small-town farmer's son reluctantly joins a traveling group of vampires after he's bitten by a beautiful drifter. And they are an unhappy family. Lance Henriksen
Yes,
plays
they
Jesse
are.
Hooker. Bill Paxton plays Severin. You know you can't trust a guy who goes by the name of Severin. Unless you're in a fantasy movie, which... Fright Night. Yeah, what's another
Didn't Leslie Nielsen play Dracula?
Dead and Loving It.
Dead and Loving It.
That counts. But Leslie Nielsen just destroys every role he plays. I love him in Police Squad. Lieutenant Frank Drebin.
I liked it before. Was it Police Squad, the first movie that he did like that?
And
And then, you know,
well,
everything else took off from there.
Police Squad and Airplane, and then The Naked Gun
You're right.
comes out later.
Airplane was the first one. And
Can you land this
before
plane?
that, he was a serious actor.
And a damn good one. And he's a serious actor in the deadpan comedy. I mean, to be able to do all of that crap and keep a straight face. I mean, I can when you say action, but in real life, no, I'm a giant goofball. I can't keep, unless we're doing a bit. Other than that,
He was the captain of the Poseidon. In the
Poseidon's Adventure, the original in 1972,
Yes, he was.
73.
I love that movie.
It's a good movie. So many good movies. It sucks to be so young now, and there's like so many movies out there, and it's like, no wonder the 30-year gap happens, and kids are like, what? I've never heard of that one.
Ernest Borgnine, who's he?
Who the hell is that? I'm glad Tombstone is gaining traction. I mean, I hope it is. I watched younger people reacting to Tombstone that have never seen it, and all of them are blown away by it because, dude, it's one of the most iconic movies ever made. I mean, the Bill Paxton's in it. It's Bill Paxton.
John
right?
Ringo. If I thought you weren't my friend, why, I don't think I could bear it.
Why, Ed, I don't think we're friends. Johnny Ringo. I love...
Bill Paxton, the new 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
He really is. It should be the 7 Degrees of Bill Paxton and Kevin Bacon. Because you could do both, really. Pretty much. Because Bill Paxton was in Weird Science, and so was Robert Downey Jr. and Anthony Michael Hall. So there's two separate directions of 80s movies where you're getting all these other 80s movies because Less Than Zero, Johnny Be Good. Boom, boom, boom. Because even you can link Rodney Dangerfield and Robert Downey Jr. because of Back to School, because Robert Downey Jr. plays Rodney Dangerfield's friend, Max. And in the movie Weird Science, he plays Mad Max. Robert Downey Jr. got cast as Max a lot. Just that guy named Max. It's two movies. Hardly
Got
a lot.
me on Rodney Dangerfield. Poetry major, huh? Maybe you can come over later and help me straighten out my Longfellow.
I don't like the new house. Hey, Lou, lay off the new house. Vanessa picked up the new house. I like the old house better. Lay off the new house. Vanessa picked out the new house. I like the old wife better. Hey, lay off Vanessa. She gives great headache. Still laughing since 1986. Say it! Oh! Oh! God, I miss Sam Kinison.
Yeah,
So,
big tragedy there.
yeah. Oh, one tragedy that is the Hollywood Fright Night. What's her name? Amanda, the love interest.
Amanda Bierce.
Thank you. She is forgotten about how amazing she was in Fright Night, both behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, and then later behind the scenes. And the next thing I'm going to say, because she's loved in that movie. Like, I didn't, Ask Ron. All of us were like, whoa. And especially when they have her all made up, and she's under Dracula's influence, or Christopher Sarandon's influence. But then you grow to hate her because she's one of the many antagonists on Married with Children. And she was actually super influential and a huge part behind the scenes with Married with Children. But, dude, why do you hate her? She's one of the best characters ever. You need an excellent villain like her to balance out Al.
You know, that's the testament to the actor. If you hate the character, you know,
I hate that actor.
That's why.
I love them
you
too.
hate the character.
Yeah, you do. It's like, I love Mila Jovovich, really, but I fucking hate Jackie. She's fucking annoying. That's how great an actress Mila Jovovich was. I could sit for hours and talk to Mila Jovovich. I don't want to spend 5 minutes with Jackie. Jesus Christ. Ron and I went to school with her, different versions of her in Scottsdale. Michael! Not the same name, but, oh, dude, let's go. Besides that, dude, she's hilarious. All the crap that there was a video of her and Ashton Kutcher, and they are sitting in their vehicle. I think they're in an SUV, and they're all alone. And she is reading to him a review that's in a rag magazine, like a TMZ or the Weekly World News, one of these, and they talk about this terrible thing that Ashton Kutcher does. It's so awful and it's so terrible, but they don't say what it is. So she turns to him, she's like, Ashton, what did you do? And he's like, God, it's got to be really horrible. Even I can't remember what it was. They said it was at this time. Oh, I don't remember. I was with you that night. And she's like, oh, yeah. So it's like they kind of have like the opposite relationship that Michael and Jackie have as their real selves. They're like real people. And that's even way funnier and more adorable. It's
Oh,
like, God,
you're thinking Mila Kunis, not Mila Jovovich.
I'm sorry. Whoops.
Yes, Mila Jovovich.
I was totally wrong.
I was trying to place.
No, Mila
her in
Jovovich
this
is
like
Fifth Element and Joan of Arc and a bunch of other.
Yes.
And Aeon
She-
Flux.
she was in
I'm sorry.
a borderline vampire movie called
Ultraviolet. Yeah, they're kind of
but they weren't technically vampires. It was
like I Am Legend, kind of,
No, it was more. I believe it was a genetically engineered medicine to cure something, and as a side effect, it turned some people into these things that were basically vampires, but it wasn't supernatural. It was more biological in nature.
Yeah, I meant. Sorry, I meant Mila Kunis. I'm whoops. Both are equally tasty, but.
Have you seen the movie Oz the Great and Powerful?
I love her in that. I love her as the Wicked Witch. That's. Oh, you're supposed to hate her. No, I'm way too turned on by this. I gotta stop watching this movie.
I saw her in a more recent movie too, and now I can't remember what it was.
I love the fact that she learned English by watching The Price is Right. Oh my God, I love you so much. What the fuck was that? Yeah, that probably translates, but I don't know. But yeah, they're kind of vampires. Like they lack hemoglobin. Just kind of redoing vampires. Yeah, Buck Rogers. I know every cartoon throws a vampire now and then because it's an easy Halloween episode. I can't think of any more besides like Salem Lot. We skip Salem's Lot because Salem's Lot isn't as gritty. I don't know. I've never read the book. I tried to read The Dragon's Eyes or Eyes of the Dragon, and
Eyes of the Dragon was a sleepy book. But it was a nice little setup to the stand.
Now, Clay is an aficionado on the Gunslinger, right?
Yeah.
I've not read any of the Dark Tower stuff.
Dark Tower, Drawing of the Three, and Pooping on the Beach, I believe, is I don't know what the last one is. Sorry. I know there's a lobster at one point that cuts his hands off. People go out of their way to tell you that, because then he can't use... oh, real? What kind of book is this? I thought he was a badass. A lobster snuck up on him? Really? Was he swimming? No, he was lying on the beach. I haven't read it. Don't listen to me. Listen to Clay.
Yeah, well, that was at the end of the beginning. And the beginning is the man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. So he winds up on a beach, and he encounters a lobstrosity, and he's basically at the end of his life. Water everywhere, and not a drop to drink. And he's at the end of his life, and he gets attacked by this lobstrosity, and takes a couple of fingers off his gun hand, which this leads to. Well, this is the beginning of the drawing of the three, and that's where he, with his gunslinger vision, he sees a doorway on the beach, and starts heading towards it, and that's where he meets Eddie. And
now, is the protagonist the antagonist of the Dark Tower, the dark guy? Is he intended to be flagged from the stand? Same character?
yes, because at the end of the stand, the book, not the series, but at the end of the book, Randall Flagg wakes up, washed ashore on an island with a bunch of natives. So the cycle continues, and he's the same fella.
Yeah, at the end of Eyes of the Dragon, he wanders into a cornfield, and in the fantasy world where he's at, and he wanders out of a cornfield somewhere in Iowa and sets off basically the apocalypse that is Captain Trips.
Children of the Corn, he wants you to
Yep.
Mordecai.
Yeah, I forget the Mother Abigail. That's that scene right there out of the book.
Isn't she the nice black
She-
lady that plays guitar and says, come to my porch? And
She
Yes.
is basically a representation of the hand of God for the time being.
she's Space
She's a
Jesus.
Yeah, because she's in communication with the good, whereas Randall Flagg is the bad, the evil.
All his trains run on time.
Really evil Wren. An apathetic Wren. Who cares? My favorite vampire, comically, before Buck Rogers, has to be when Bugs Bunny goes to Dracula's Hocus Pocus. La-da-dee-dee-da-da-da, abracapocus.
Newport News.
Hocus Cadabra. I love that episode. Bugs Bunny's the best because he always gets the advantage of the bad guy, but he never has to completely resort to full-on physical violence. He can usually outsmart them and taunt them to the point of true meltdown. It was an art form back then, kids. A real art form. We learned from the Stooges and the Marx Brothers how to really piss people off socially. Yeah. Because that's all those movies are, really. Is
Abbott
And
and
despite
Costello
all-
were once in a movie with Dracula.
Go Clay.
And despite all that violence that we witnessed, the kegs of explosive going off while Daffy Duck is sitting on it, Daffy Duck catching a shotgun blast to the face so bad it knocks his beak off. dropping anvils on Coyote's head. We knew better than to do this
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
We did have adventures, though. I've got scars to prove it. I've had some adventures.
It's
If there were things
I've
that we
got
knew better.
plenty of scars myself from
Yeah, you got
childhood
one that's
stupidity.
brewing right now, don't you?
Oh yeah, you want to see the latest update on it?
Oh, that's much better. That's a
Except
bad
that
bruise.
you can see that right there. There's a hole in the end of my elbow, and it is a hole. It's a divot
Considering
right there where
uh,
a piece of me was left on the sidewalk.
you were a bloody mess a little while ago, yeah.
Yeah.
I still can't raise my arm above the shoulder without extreme pain.
Ouch.
I was at work today and was moving some 30-pound boxes and couldn't.
Your body said no.
Yeah, my left arm said, nope, we're not holding that up.
Not gonna happen.
So I had to go tell my boss, is like, I'm doing this job, but I got to this one part, I can't move these boxes. My arm's still fucked up.
Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy was fun. It was basically a gothic coming to America. It's the same movie. But yeah, 1992, Gary Oldman just blows it away because it's Gary Oldman, it's Carrie Ellis. It's I can take Winona Ryder or leave her. I think she's very talented. I think she's, I've been watching her since Heathers and Beetlejuice and, but
She was great in Stranger Things.
yes, she was. But I've never been really like gaga over her. So, like Beverly D'Angelo or so many.
It's not
others.
one of my, yeah.
She doesn't rate as high on the strokeability scale as some of the other. Oh, all right. She's one of those. But I have to say that consistently, she's done a very, very good job. And as, Mina Harker, she did a good job. I mean, she was great in that movie. But it's more Gary Oldman lusting after her and being in pain over her than her. Because she's just being a chick.
Yes, they played that part of it up big time, but
From the book.
yes, the whole reason,
Hollywood.
in the books, I don't think there was, in the movie they painted it like destiny, like he knew she was going to be. In the book, there was none of that. He had just decided that he had used up Europe and was going to move to England. And when he got there, Lucy Westenra was the first woman he went after, not Mina Harker.
Lucy. Sorry.
And she became a vampire thrall. The Bloofer lady.
I have a theory. Hold on. Let me look it up before I start running my mouth, because as we've seen tonight, I'm wrong. So, Gary Oldman.
Keanu Reeves.
The Tom Waits as Renfield.
He was also Heller in Mystery Men.
Oh. Heller. Okay, I'm wrong.
I'm only here for the ladies.
I don't live here, man. I'm wrong. I was going to say, I bet the guys who were writing Dracula saw him in Immortal Beloved playing Beethoven and were like, Gary Oldman's going to be in the movie? Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to amp up because in Immortal Beloved, he's Beethoven. So he just throws himself into that role. And Beethoven was just in love with his brother. French Revolution. Napoleon. Anyway, I'm wrong. I forgot that he was in Henry and June. If you're really into Henry Miller, it's a good movie. If you don't really give a crap about Henry Miller. So, this is a good 1920s piece with a lot of sex and a lot of lesbian love. Huh. Yeah. Anyway,
I've seen that one.
it's a good movie. I mean, yes, I love Henry Miller's poetry. Sorry, big softy. But yeah, I'm trying to think of other vampire movies, and I'm drawing a blank.
I think we covered almost all of them. There's Let Me In.
Mm,
Have you seen that one?
no,
It's, well, spoilers. It's about a child vampire, and
that's
you know
terrifying.
she basically starts grooming another child her age
Mm.
to accompany her, um, and helping her is a very old gentleman who, supposedly her grandfather or something, who was also at one point recruited as her companion when he was a child.
Mm.
And it's a very different take on the vampire
It
myth.
sounds creepy. I just
It
put in.
is very,
I
and it's a remake of a European movie called Let the Right One In.
Oh, I've heard about people were freaking out about that one. I totally forgot. I put in vampire, and a whole bunch of movies and shows popped up that we totally forgot to mention. So I'll go through really quick. Vampire,
Take your time.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Vampire
Oh,
Academy. We totally skipped over the Vampire Hunter D series. Vampire in Brooklyn. I named that one. Humanist Vampire, and I have this one up here, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. It was
I
fun.
love that movie.
It was fun. I can't believe we forgot to. Buffy the
I believe
Vampires.
the same person that wrote Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter wrote Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies.
Oh, I hope so. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, both the movie and the show are brilliant, and Angel and Shadow of the Vampire with Willem Dafoe and Eddie Izzard. I've seen parts of it.
There was another vampire movie with Willem Dafoe in it, Daybreakers. Have you seen that one?
No, isn't that
It
the
has-
one where
It has Sam Neill in it.
really?
Yeah, he's the lead vampire.
There's 2011 Vampire, then Vampire Lovers, that's from the 70s. That's an English film. Lust for a Vampire, Embrace the Vampire, Little Vampire. Both my kids would slap me for not remembering to mention that one, since I watched it with them probably 50 times. Vampire Killers, My Babysitter's Vampire, Vampire Sisters, Killer Barbies, Vampire Prosecutor, My Babysitter's a Vampire, The Vampire Prince Bride, The Vampire Prince's Bride, not the Prince. That's just too much. Okay, Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, 2023 Vampire, Vampire Doll, The Fearless Vampire Killers, Vampire Knight, it's an anime. Vampire Circus, also an anime, Kiss of the Vampire, Scooby-Doo and Legend of the Vampire, Rosario the Vampire, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Little Vampire, Vampire, Vampirina, Teenage Vampire. Oh, I think
What I haven't touched on is
there's a
vampire-based video games and other media. Of course, we've got D&D has its vampires, Strahd von Zervik and the whole Ravenloft. That's a
the vampires in Rifts come in many different genres, but the one you have to worry about is what? Everything south of Texas. It's just this one hive mind. They are all controlled. It's the stuff of nightmares.
And then, video games with vampires in it. I ran into vampires in Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. I actually became a vampire and had to go through there's a way to cure it in that game. But it was messed up. There's a game called Vampire, Vampyr, that was a role-playing game. My wife streamed the whole thing. It was a very good experience where you take on the role of a vampire as the protagonist. There have been a lot of Vampire the Masquerade video games, and a lot of them are very like visual novels and narrative storytelling. There was a game that I play called V Rising, and it's a vampire survival game
Yeah.
where the vampires have been asleep for thousands of years and they have finally reawakened to come back into the world, and
Yeah.
so you play a vampire and you have to rise in power and go face different bosses, and there's different factions, and it's a very arcadey type game, but
Mm.
again, very vampire.
Then there's the vampire scene from the movie Waxwork. That was pretty good. Where they have the person dying on the table and they're eating them. Yeah, sorry, I've been up since 1, so
Yeah, you've been up longer than I have.
it's been one of those kind of nights. Oh, yeah. I think we've covered most of the vampires, actually. Now that I just read that list, and they're in every culture. They come from all over the world. I think vampires stay alive in the zeitgeist and in our culture, in the back of our mind as humans, because they're alien to us, and it's that teeth and claws in the dark of the night that can overpower us, eliminate, and make us disappear. It's all
And
of
I think the allure is the other things, the
power.
forever young, the being able to, get anybody to bend to your will, the ability to, fly, the ability to explode into a cloud of bats in awkward social situations,
Turn into a wolf.
turn into a wolf, be able to control wolves and bats.
Not a bad gig, but I love the sun. I really do. As much as I love the night. I'm equal that way, so I don't think I could sign up for an eternity of night. 'Cause I'd be like Louis
No.
with the having to see is. Then I saw motion pictures and I saw the sunrise for the first time. And was it like 100 years? Because he's a Creole. He's not. Because everyone like, interview with a vampire. He's not. He doesn't even look anything like Louis. Okay, I haven't read the book. I don't know.
I have no idea what Louis looked like.
It's a good story. I mean, it's very romanticized for what blood-sucking psychopaths would be like if if they had to exist in multiple cultures over eons, millennia, time immortal, oh, infinity.
And I guess vampires in almost all realms get more powerful as they age. And like Vampire the Masquerade, I believe it traces its lineage back all the way to Cain, who was ultimately the first vampire. And his first generation, the vampires he made, was Generation 1. And those vampires were the basis of, I guess there were 12 of them, the basis of the 12 clans.
For Masquerade.
Yeah, for Masquerade, and
Yeah, because
I
you go
believe
down
that
in generation. That's why
you go down.
start
Yeah,
at
the
13
player
or
characters
14.
are like 8th or 9th generation vampires, because you're
Those-
one generation below the one that sired you.
Yeah.
So if you ran into a 4th generation vampire and were turned, you would be a 5th generation vampire,
most of the
which
player
is much more powerful.
Oh yeah. Most of the player characters start out 13 or 14 14 if your DM's mad at you. 13 is normally where you start out. And you've got some abilities. To humans, you're like super powered, but to other vampires, you suck. You're brand
You're a
new.
punk.
Yeah. You're an upstart.
All I know is that the one vampire game I played in, I failed a lot.
I have the first one, 1999, Vampire Redemption. And you have to be a Brujah. You don't get a choice. They embrace you.
Yes. The version of Vampire I have now, the currently published version is by Renegade Games, and it is different than the White Wolf. I mean, in some ways, I've never played the White Wolf version, but it follows the same lore and works basically a variation of the same way. But
The thing that's cool about Vampire the Masquerade Redemption It's not fun. Don't, if you get it on Steam, whatever's up with the game, you can't save your game. So you start brand new every single time. So don't buy it. It's like $3. But because it's 99. It's a super old game.
It was an old DOS game.
But the soundtrack, the score to the game, well, it's not really a soundtrack. The score to the game is amazing. But you're kind of forced down this path to be a Brujah, to join the Brujah. The Brujah are like Lost Boys or bikers or mafia.
Right. Brujah means wizard in Spanish.
Which?
But yeah, I played a Brujah in
they're
the
fun.
one.
They're fun to play.
And,
so have
I played I decided when I made my vampire character, he was going to be the most unvampire-like character. And so, although his name was changed, he was basically Jake from State Farm. He had an overnight gig manning a phone bank, and he hated his job. And he wore khakis and a polo shirt with a company logo on it for work.
Sounds hideous.
And ran a conspiracy blog on the side. And one of the conspiracy stories he ran was about a vampire, and he was closer to the
that's too funny.
Truth than he knew. So a vampire basically vamped him out. And the Brujah were going to just destroy him because, well, he didn't. They didn't have permission to make him, but he was so well connected on the interwebs and had an audience following him with this conspiracy theory website that they said, "You keep writing this website and put out the information we want, and we'll let you live."
Yeah.
And so he became a puppet of the Brujah.
The best part about the White Wolf games is you're all fighting, whether you play werewolf or mage or changeling or wraith or vampire, you're fighting a world-ending game. You're the Americans in the Revolutionary War against the British. You're constantly stretched thin. You don't have enough of everything. The wolf is at the door. You're out of resources. You're out of money. You're out of reinforcements, and they're designed like that. It's called Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, because you're outgunned. You're not just fighting. You fight vampires, but mostly you fight the Flamori. You fight these agents of the worm that are corrupted, and they kind of function the way the Deados function in the RIPD movie, where they spread the taint of corruption everywhere they go. So you can smell them because you have wolf senses from like down the street. You're like, hey, do you guys smell that? Let's go get that guy or woman or whatever. Because they're that vampire is just, we're vampires, we've got to hide from the humans. So the Camarilla, is that Camarilla?
Camarilla, yeah.
They are like the council in Blade. They're protecting the humans and kind of using them as food and kind of where the Sabbat are more like near dark. Fuck that. We should be gods. We should own the humans. So the Sabbat and the Camarilla constantly fight, and then the werewolves are constantly breaking into crypts and turning over, warehouses and things. So they're constantly being attacked because vampires look at werewolves as a nuisance. They're these oh God, they're back. These fucking dogs that are constantly attacking us. However, werewolves have a completely different spin on vampires. To the werewolves, they're following this whole creation myth where you've got the weaver, the wild, and the worm. And the Flamori and the vampires are servants, and a lot of other things, are servants of the worm. And they need to be eradicated because they're destroying what the weave created. And the wild is magic and kind of mostly good chaos. It's neutral and good. It does some evil fucked up stuff, but mostly that's left up to the worm. But that's kind of how it is. Where the changeling, the dreaming, you're trying to do fey stuff while no one's watching, or when they're sleeping, or using people's dreams but you're still dealing with elves and satyrs and trolls and boggins and redcaps and like leprechauns. It's fey. So the Seelie Court and the Unseelie Court. Well, you have the Council of Clans as the Camarilla. You have the tribes in Werewolf, and not all the tribes get along. Not all the Camarilla clans get along. In what's it called in Wraith? The group.
I don't know. I never got that deep into it.
There's 13 groups in every game. Mage has 13 orders. Werewolf has 13 tribes. Vampire has 13 basic clans. You can be others, but you can be a Samiti or one of the other weird, a Saburi, one of the other. Now they're mainstream, but back in the 90s they were brand new. But the Wraiths also have 13 different groups you can be different. And the mages are like the Akashic Brotherhood. They're all basically they're all like Shaolin masters. And they're like monks in D&D. They get the Iron Fist, and they're like Clay's character in our C&C game. And punch through shit and beat the hell up out of everybody. But they're like an adept in Shadowrun. They don't like cast stuff. They do physical magic. Like high karate jumping over an 8-foot fence kind of shit. Gymkata, parkour, Whereas the Verbena, they're pagans. They cut themselves and start bleeding and use the blood to turn it into magic to do whatever it is they need to do.
Blood magic exists in a
lot of games. And even in Vampire, you have the thaumaturgical mages. You have the Tremere. They're literally the clan of thaumaturgy. All of their shit they're not very hand to hand.
Yeah, I want to say
they fuck you up from across
the game
the
I
roof.
was playing in. Kat was playing a blood mage, somebody with blood magic. I don't remember. It might have been a Tremere.
Tremere or Verbena. That's usually. But then you get like the
Verbena
Samiti.
doesn't sound familiar.
The Samiti in Vampire is the Dracula clan, and they're skin flesh crafters. Fleshcraft is one of their powers. So they can look like bats and monsters and all besides their normal forms. They're the shapeshifters besides the gangrel. But gangrel usually only turn into wolves. Gangrel are your vampires that are basically outcast loners. They have a society, but it's very loose. They kind of exist like bears. They only kind of hang out to do a kill or solve a problem. And other than that, they have their own little territories in their own little world. Where the Malkavians are the insane vampire. They're all just totally out of their minds. They have mental issues. Some of them are bipolar. Some of them are schizophrenic. And now they're a vampire on top of that. Some of them are severely autistic where they can barely communicate, but they're a vampire. Some of them are totally normal people, and then they get bitten, and now they have a debilitating psychological power because madness is one of their powers. They can drive other vampires and humans, and werewolves are absolutely insane once they get very old. One of the cool in Mage, what are they called? They're the high-tech wizards, and they deal in correspondence. And they're basically a whole order of wizards that function like Howl's Moving Castle's door to his house. If you've ever seen the movie, you guys, Howl's Moving Castle. Okay.
Yes, I have.
Howl has a dial inside his house, and he turns it, and it says, New York. And he opens the door, and the door opens up to New York. And then he turns the dial to say Tokyo, and now the door opens to Tokyo. So they deal in correspondence and folding time and space. I can't remember what they're called. It's been so long since I had to know, since we were playing the game.
Well, I'm sure that they have completely blown up the original lore. I know they kept the basis of it, but some of the lore has changed, I've been
Shit.
told. But
Okay.
I don't know the lore of the original. I have the a copy of the most recent vampire book, or my wife has a copy of it. It's her book. But I had thought about trying to run a vampire game, but as a game master, I can't wrap my mind around the idea of undead player characters. That's why in D&D they've got, the Dhampir, which are half vampires, and the, other nonsense. No. First off, vampires do not reproduce. They are undead, which means that they have no biological function whatsoever. At least in my opinion. Vampires do not have offspring. The only way they get offspring is to bite another human and make them into a vampire. And in a game like D&D, trying to run a vampire player character would be impossible. It's like, all right, we're going to travel over to this city. Well, so-and-so has to bring his wagon and his bucket of dirt and can only come out at night.
Samitsi, yeah, they can only sleep in their native soil. That's one of their one of the bad things.
So, it's bad enough that a player character could get contract lycanthropy. And, during the changes, they get taken over by the game master. Whereas, you're a vampire now, or your character is done. Start rolling a new one, because there's no coming back from being undead. Once your soul is damned, your soul is damned, your soul is damned. At least that's my opinion on it. There is no redemption arc for the undead.
There's all new orders for mage now.
Not surprised that they've changed it all up.
Maybe it's not orders I'm thinking of. What is it?
But then there was a predecessor to all of these called Ars Magica. Have you heard of it?
No.
No. I call it a niche role-playing game, and it pisses off the people that swear by it. But it is the game that White Wolf based their games on mechanically. And it's a medieval fantasy role-playing game that delves heavily into magic to the point of tedium, in my opinion. But it was the rule system that Vampire the Masquerade was built on.
Oh, okay.
The original. So it was the game that the Vampire and all the other White Wolf stuff evolved from. Although I don't think it was a White Wolf publication.
It's been so long. They've changed kind of how this worked. I don't see the Verbena and the Akashic Brotherhood or any of that stuff mentioned. Hold on, let me go to the rule book. This is a brand new rule book. That's the problem. It's like, go to this. Well, here's the modern one. Oh, what? What is this? No. 1992, please. Oops. I'm so behind in all my stuff. But yeah, there used to be. It was just too much, and you couldn't do anything. You can't do anything in all the games. Like, let's say you're fighting. Let's say you're a mage, right? And you're one of the elemental. I can't remember what they're called, but you deal with elements. So you're fighting bad guy mages. So it's kind of like Highlander, where you have to hide in the alley. You can't just throw a lightning bolt at these guys. Because if a normal person who's not a mage sees this happen, their brain creates a paradox, and now an agent of paradox is created, and it comes hunting after you because you're creating discordia. That's not something that's supposed to happen. So you would have to make it look like a transformer in the alley sparked and shot a bolt of lightning at those guys. You can't just throw a fireball. You have to make it look like a gas line ruptured and fire came flying out of the gas line and burned them to a burn. Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen Crisp.
You had to
I had to go.
make it plausible.
Yes, because it's the same thing as when you're playing werewolf, and you're supposed to, in the game, you're supposed to have as many children as you possibly can in the game, because only 1 in 10 of those kids are the average of the descendant of werewolf. You don't turn people into werewolves by biting them. The werewolves are called the Garou, and they're the warriors of Gaia. And literally in the werewolf world, there is a shape changer for every animal that exists on the planet. Panther, chicken, walrus, there's a shape changer. And they're protecting the earth, the weave, from the worm. So that being said, you don't bite people and they become a werewolf or a were-panther or a were-bear or a were-tiger. You have to have a bunch of children, and only one of them is going to be a werewolf, but the tribe you belong to is watching all of these kids, and then as soon as puberty hits, one of them's going to turn into a werewolf, and then they literally kidnap that kid as soon as they smell or see evidence that there's werewolf activity. And then you're kind of like, hi, welcome to the tribe. Yeah, you can't go home. Because in werewolf, you don't change every full moon. Oh, you'll feel the power to change, but you change at the moon you're born on. So if you are a Galliard, for example, you're a 3/4 moon. So when the moon reaches 3/4, that's your super time. But the Galliard are performers. They're musicians. They're song tellers and singers, and they kind of throw giant parties when they transform. The Arun are the full moon that are all the stories of wolves ripping cabins apart, and all that's the scary ones. The new moon are the mysterious guys. The middle the half waxing, half waning, the Philodox, they're the peacekeepers in the group. They want to keep the peace. They want everybody to get along. Thergu, Philodox. There's another one. Galliard, Arun. Because each of the phases of the moon has a little bit of your personality, and it's when you change the most. More useless trivia. There you go. Sorry. We went way off topic.
It's not useless if you're playing werewolf.
No. I thought it was a very cool addition to... I've got 5 forms, and the moon fucks with me. Because you don't have the disadvantage of a vampire. You can run around all day all you want as a werewolf.
In that world, the lichens are not traditional lycanthropes of lore, in that it's not a curse and it can't be passed by bite or scratch. It's
biological.
Only hereditary. Yeah, in D&D, they divide that into infected lycanthropes and true lycanthropes. A true lycanthrope is somebody who is born to lycanthropes and has been that all his life.
Say Bjorn in Lord of the Rings. He's a true...
Bjorn and yes, he is a true lycanthrope. And there is no cure, no coming back from that. And then there are infected lycanthropes, and lycanthropy is a curse. And it can be lifted. It is difficult, but it can be done. And that is the main difference between vampirism, which is damnation, and lycanthropy, which is a curse. For me, damnation, you become a vampire, you are a wraith, you are a ghost, whatever. Your soul has, moved on to not the luminous beings are we that Yoda talked about. The light in your soul has died and has become something else. That's why the undead are almost universally evil, because now they become a mockery of life and resent the life that they used to have.
The problem with the game Wraith is you have one story. It's the crow. You spend all this time trying to get enough corpus to materialize in the living world, because you're a ghost before that, and you deal in the necropolises. Because for every major city there's a flip side necropolis where there's a bunch of dead inhabiting the same city, walking amongst the living, and they never see each other because it's the astral plane and the physical plane. It's two different realities. When you get enough corpus to become the crow and come back to the living world, here's what sucks about the Wraith game. You spend most of the game just trying to get back into the world of the living. The bad part is that once you die, the old adage, you have two wolves inside of you, a good wolf and a bad wolf, which is more powerful, whichever one you feed. When you die, they split. So you make your character, and then your character and every other player character and all the NPCs that are wraiths have a shadow. It's the mirror of you. It's all the dark aspects of your character. Sometimes the DM plays all the shadows. Sometimes everybody just hands the shadow to the right or left in the gaming party. Now I'm playing Steve's shadow. You are going to pay for that bad decision you made gaming last week. So it can be a mixed bag. However, you as the Wraith is trying to get back to the real world to avenge your death. The shadow, played either by another player or the DM, is trying to take control of you at your darkest moments and pull you into the oblivion. Because the oblivion in the game is like an onion, but the center of the onion is infinity. It's the oblivion. It's the forever well of gravity. The outside that we live in is the outside husk of the onion. So the necropolis is halfway there. They see the oblivion like we watch the sunset. They see this black hole where souls are being sucked into it. So your madness tries to take you over to pull you into there, because then it wins, but it dies because it gets sucked in there and there ain't no coming back from there. You're recycled.
That is truly strange. I'm not sure that's the game I would want to. It would have to be very one note. I could see writing a novel about it, but
writing a novel, yes. Playing it as a game, sorry, dude. You're playing the guy on the subway in the movie Ghost. Oh, what I wouldn't give for one more cigarette. They pushed me. Who pushed you? They pushed me. You're avenging your death, but you've been driven mad for a couple years by your alter ego. So even the crow, you're not in your right mind. None of those guys are sane. Not even the chick that comes back to avenge herself and her artist, was her husband or her boyfriend? It's the comic. Anyway, but it's limited. Once you go back and once you avenge your death, your character's done. You've ceilinged. In a story where immortal vampire, werewolf, guy who can throw fireballs, dude who has goat legs, you're just done. You had some awesome, indestructible, cool, ghostly powers, but once you kill the guy that killed you, you disappear. You don't have any more corpus. You go to heaven. And the weird part about the Acropolis is everything is made out of souls. So when you first get there, when you're freshly dead, everybody that's stronger than you is trying to turn you into a chair or a piece of paper or a pen or maybe a walking stick, or because they don't have stone and wood and they don't even have air. They exist in a vacuum, and everything there is made out of souls. It's a hellish game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's disturbing.
I kept reading it, but
that doesn't really. Something like that does not appeal to me. It would be a very one-note thing.
It's the reason why it didn't catch on. It's the apex of, dude, fuck this game, because it's more trouble than it's worth. Vampire's hard enough. Werewolf's hard enough. Mage is hard enough. Changeling, the vampire hunters. This one's impossible. And it's nerd fun. It's not like geek fun, where it's like, this is fun and cool, even though we're getting our asses kicked. No, it's like, this game sucks, because who wrote this? Yes, I love The Crow, too.
It doesn't seem to me that it would lend itself to fun gameplay. Really, it wouldn't.
They're a great NPC. That's it. Because it's a revenant. It's a wraith. How do you kill those in D&D? As quickly as you fucking can. because that will destroy your entire
Using
body. Yeah. Light and holy light. Holy light! Holy light! God symbol. Other than that, you're fucked. They're on the level of, like, illithids without being interdimensional. I mean, they're like, ah! They're space vampires are illithids, basically. 8 brains, that's kind of close. I mean, won't they die if they don't have brains? They can't, like, go get a cheeseburger and be like, I'm cool.
No, I'm not sure of the etymology of the. They're kind of like, I guess you could consider them vampires, but they're not undead. You know, they're physical beings. But the most recent video game, Baldur's Gate 3. Spoilers for anybody that hasn't played that game. At the beginning of the game, you get infected by a mind flayer tadpole, and you and all of the other members of your party have mind flayer tadpoles in your brain, and the whole purpose of the game is to try to find a way to stop seromorphosis, which is where basically it takes over your nervous system and turns your body into a mind flayer, at which point you cease to exist.
You've seen Alien, right? It's a mind burster instead of a chest burster, folks.
It is. And the lore goes pretty deep in that, you know, it turns out that some people that become mind flayers do retain their humanity and their memories, because one of them is, well, a main character in the game, and I won't give you spoilers. I won't give that particular spoiler because it's a major what moment in the game.
Get the Yankee and the Zari are in that one too, aren't they?
I believe the Get Yankee are in it. I don't think the Gazari show up at all. But one of the main characters, besides your player character, is a Get Yankee warrior, and you can play it's an available race to play in the game.
Really, a Gith?
And yes, Gith Yankee, yes, specifically Gith Yankee, because she's every bit as ornery and antisocial as you would expect the Gith Yankee to be, with the exception that you guys all share this tadpole in your brain, so you've got a common cause.
Yeah, we have to do something about this now.
Baldur's Gate is one of those games where your main character can romance any of the NPCs, same sex, other race, or whatever. And of course, being weird, my character romanced the Gith Yankee chick, and she is freaky.
That's that dork. What is it? Dork Tower, Darkness Rising, the gamers. I can't do this. If I let them go into their own devices, they're going to impregnate the entire world. I hit on her, but you're a chick. I hit on her anyway. Natural 20. Whoa. Ruckus. Those are my hemos, dude.
They're like D&D tropes.
Yeah.
If somebody plays an orc and they play a female orc, it's going to be a muscle mommy.
Yeah. The best is they hit every player character in that game, because you have the DM that's just trying to run the game, and then you have the one dude who is your total aggro guy. He always plays a barbarian. He's always yelling at everybody. He always has something kind of to say, and he owns the gaming store, and they play in the back of the gaming store. And then you've got the other guy. I'm an elf. There's no elves in my rip his ears off. And I play a monk, and he is that guy that everybody's played with, where he has to be either the most powerful character in the entire party or the biggest pain in the ass in the entire party, where the character's, the flamboyant bard or Then you've got the other guy who does all the drugs in the game, has to sleep with all the women in the game, goes along with the other two guys constantly, and then the one guy that's the overpowered guy or obnoxious guy, he brings his ex-girlfriend, and she plays the brand new character trope. Because it's a lot like, really old gamers stop reading rules after a while. You know that. We made that up. We changed that. So they don't really learn the rules. It's like a lot of the ways they look at Catholicism, where most Catholics don't read the Bible. You just get preached to it every Sunday. They pick out a different chapter, and they sit up there in the pulpit, and they fucking go on and on and on. And so you retain that. You don't have to actually sit down and go, and he begat him, and oh, this is just like Bag End. So it's very, you know, it's, you get what I'm saying. The new players teach the old players rules in the way that we don't even realize it. Because we're like, no, it's this. And the new player's like, no, it's this. Really? When did they change that? Well, it's in 3rd edition. Oh, okay. Well, have you read 3rd edition? I looked at the pictures. It's D&D.
There's no bad games, just bad game masters. You could make a really horrible game fun and playable if you know how. Like the first game I really ever ran was called Star Frontiers. It was published by TSR.
1982.
It was their science fiction game, and it was a very bare bones. I don't think it was ever play tested because it was so broken. But I ran a campaign that lasted 3 years, and we had all kinds of fun.
It's a very simple setup, and that in that case, the problem is, well, I think we talked about this too. D&D was so successful, along with Boot Hill and Top Secret and Marvel Superheroes and 007, because start here, this happens, find this, bring it back to the beginning. They're very simple plots.
Never really did get the James Bond role playing game. It's like I really didn't understand the point. Top Secret was kind of the same way. The espionage role play really doesn't work well as role play.
It's better on novel. But if you want to be James Bond,
I feel the same way about Star Trek.
Yeah.
I mean,
Star Trek and Star Wars. Go ahead.
Role playing in the Star Trek universe might be fun. Being members on the board of a Starfleet vessel might be fun for a short period of time, but it would, one person's in charge. He tells everybody else what they have to do, and they have to do it.
Yeah, it's paranoia. It's just for a little bit.
Paranoia, I loved playing Paranoia, but it's a game it's basically a let's bring 2 cases of beer and a half a pound of pot. And we're going to play Paranoia one afternoon.
We're all going to pass out in the living room.
We're going to get blotto and stupid and blow each other up a lot.
Bring your pillow and your sleeping bag and a lot of booze because no one's going to survive. But with Star Frontiers and Gamma World allowed the DM to flush out the world. So if you're not a story-heavy improv DM or a story-heavy, my players have taken a 90-degree angle, and now I need to... Well, so much for my original plot line, assholes. Okay, here's what's going to happen now.
Last Thursday was a prime example of why I don't run sandbox role-playing games. Because we spent 3 hours just deciding what it is we wanted to do. I won't do that again. From now on, there's going to be a hook. There's going to be basically this big invisible bouncer that's going to say, here's the train. Get on the fucking train.
Where's your ticket? Ticket!
You don't need a ticket. You're getting on that train.
Yeah.
One way or another, you're getting on the train, and then the train is leaving the station. So, going forward with a large group like that, because you guys don't know the game world well enough, and it's going to take you time to learn the lore, I'm going to, at least for a while, start force-feeding adventure on you.
Hey, it's a world where we have lobstermen and Minotaur, but Blackbeard is loose. So this is an equally terrifying... I love it. Anyway, one thing...
It's a weird fantasy world.
Yeah. Because Star Frontiers only gives you so many modules. They even did a Space Odyssey, or HAL. And then you have Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. Other than that, you don't hear a lot of from Star Frontiers until recently, and then you've had it get revamped, and then kind of now it's
well, there was the legal behind that is there was a group that formed that called themselves TSR because the name TSR wasn't still held by WotC, but they started using some of the old logos and stuff from TSR, which WotC does own. And so they got a real quick cease and desist. And
the Space Dwarves. Everybody was mad about the Space Dwarves.
Yeah, and then it kind of unraveled.
What were you thinking? What was the
if
thought?
I was gonna really nowadays, if I'm gonna revisit any old role-playing game, I'm gonna use Savage Worlds to do it because Savage Worlds will do everything.
I would love
it'll do superheroes. It'll do moderns. It'll do science fiction. It does fantasy. It does everything.
I would love a Savage Worlds Star Frontiers. That would be awesome, because I had a friend run multiple Star Wars campaigns, so I got to be 3 different characters over the space of that time. A bounty hunter that was like the Defel, the werewolves that can mess with ultraviolet light with their fur. I was one of the when they go into the cantina, there's a little chipmunk guy that's going like this, and the bartender gives him a drink. He's hanging out with the Jawas. They're like super techs. They're like obsessed with technology. And then the last one I played was a Given, which are they have the exoskeleton on the. They look like marionettes, and their whole world religion is mathematics. So they make excellent engineers. But playing before the Old Republic without any Skywalkers around was actually really cool, because there are.
That's what I would do, because I'm about done with Skywalker.
Yeah, I don't want to run into Darth Vader or Chewie or any of those guys. I want to make my own legends, and that was pretty damn awesome, because there are hundreds of races in Star Wars. Because we've been writing books about Star Wars since 1975. Like Max Rebo, the big blue elephant. They're not elephants at all. They're this race called the Ortho. Their planet is basically an ice cube, and they're all obsessed with food. Most of them become musicians just so they can become famous and get the hell off their planet. That's how barren it is. It's like living on Pluto, where only like 3 things grow, and they all like fight over the food. It's a nightmare. Oh yeah.
Well, gentlemen.
Oh, is it that?
I think we've hit the pumpkin hour. We have hit the pumpkin hour. Yes, it has been a long day.
Thank you for watching us. You could have watched anybody, but you decided to watch us, and we appreciate you enjoying our 100% pure barf show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out my steampunk stuff. Clay and I are gearing up to have a summers extravaganza. Our guns are going to start at $7, and, well, who knows how much we're going to charge for the rifles, but Halloween is right around the corner. And, yeah, did you guys check out the video? What the fuck happens to my eyes 10-second in? It looks like I go to zombie contacts or something. They're normal. I don't have contacts. I don't own a pair. I've never worn them. I don't. These aren't even my real glasses. These are, reading glasses. Sorry, I kind of took the body and soul candles, and now you guys plugs.
Clay, you go next.
All right, so I would like to talk about the Grand Exchange that's going on next weekend, the 11th, on Saturday. It's at the Gamers Guild in Phoenix. I'm going to have product there. I'm going to make a couple of blankets and some dice bags. 2 different size, 3 different colors, purple, blue, and red.
You're modeling your shirt.
And yeah, model my shirt. It's accidental tie-dye. And that's what I'm going to be doing next Saturday. Maybe some of our steampunk guns are going to be there as well. So if you're in the Phoenix area, I'd love for you guys to stop by and introduce yourself. If you're not, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm Phoenix made of clay. I've got a lot of instructional videos going up there, a lot of different silliness. Thanks for watching, guys. Who's next?
I'll go next. I am, and always have been, Jingo the Fool, Game Master here at Ship of Fools. You can catch me this Sunday evening. I will be co-streaming with the Real Women of Gaming. Give them a shout out. We're doing Deadlands, Hell Hath No Fury, with an all-lady cast. It's awesome. Right now they are fighting against a demon cult. And yes, rescuing people. Collecting strays, as they call it. In addition to that, very soon, I'm probably going to start streaming Sunday mornings. I keep saying that, and then every Sunday morning it comes, and I'm like, fuck it, I don't want to get out of bed. But probably start streaming Conan Exile soon. In July, there's brand new content coming for this game that people said was dead, and I'll definitely be streaming that when it happens.
You and Paul were you're so obsessed with that game. I understand.
I love that game. I have over 5,000 hours in it.
Oh my god! Sorry. Well, I mean, how long you've been playing it since it was new?
Yes, and I still play it. I even host a private server.
It's a Martian Cat, right?
No, it's the name of it is the Red Planet.
The Red Planet. Sorry. Whoops.
All right, I've talked enough.
Rob
the Blacksmith.
Well,
Marsh.
I will reiterate that it's 13 years to the day since the Granite Mountain hotshots were overrun. So today, especially, I ask that if you can, please help out with the Eric Marsh Foundation, the Tunnels to Towers, any of those programs. And as I'd mentioned at the beginning, about 3 days ago, we lost 3 more wildland firefighters. And so it's very important. These are the people that run towards danger so that the rest can run away from it. And if you can help in any way, please reach out and help.
Thank you for watching the Supreme Council of the Master Geeks Lodge. We bid you good night. Stay geeky. And always do your hobbies. We want to see them. Comment below. Gentlemen.
Good night, Twitch.
Good night. I'm sorry I was late tonight. Hopefully it won't happen again. Gentlemen, have a wonderful evening.
All right, thanks, folks. Love you guys for watching.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
Absolutely.